Hello, today is March 26th, and it's the day after Sauron fell. And we're here with another episode of the news. It's also Aragorn's birthday was yesterday.
A lot of people had comments when we talked about why Middle-earth had the same calendar as us.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe that that's kind of like Thundar, where it's either way in the past or way in the future of the real Earth.
It is a slightly different calendar, but it's similar. But it's neither here nor there. The Shire calendar is completely different from everybody else's, too.
I like the creativity of the calendar that was in RimWorld. That was pretty cool. April, May.
Oh, it was more like, just so you know the season.
December.
Yeah.
Well, I always love, if at all possible, always start the news, start the week off right, talk about a Jeep pie. And this week, some rare good news.
The FCC is going to cough up $43,000 in a settlement for refusing to turn over fake comment records.
What will they do without that $43,000?
Well, that was our $43,000.
Yeah,
the taxpayers.
It doesn't hurt them. This is a little bit misleading. It's a settlement, kinda, but what they're really just doing is paying the court costs of the guy who sued them because they never actually gave him the Freedom of Information records. They never gave it to them. Even after this, he got it from some other regulatory agency who had it. So they do not admit fault. They do not admit guilt. They just pay his legal fees and it goes away.
That's a lot of legal fees to get some records about them. I mean, does anybody, clearly no one is paying attention. I mean, this seems to be like the smoking gun.
They're being paid to not pay attention.
That has DNA all over it. And it's like, look, there is criminal wrongdoing here. The FCC is culpable. One of the comments in this article was, we don't have the technical ability to see who submitted what, which is a lie. Their API system, you have to have a key. You could at least tie it to a key. Now, whether the key was leaked by a third party or something like that, okay, maybe. But the system is literally built to associate a transaction with a key.
But you say that nobody's paying attention. These are the people who are supposed to be paying attention.
They're trying, yeah.
No, the FCC is the watcher.
Well, who's watching the watchers?
They're just random citizens.
It's just us. We're literally
they can't get the records. That guy, when he did get the information, his interpretation of it is that he expected at least 50% of those comments to be fake.
The amazing thing here is you watch old 80s sitcoms or, the A-Team, and it's like, wow, the level of corruption in this, southeastern Texas town is just off the charts. They got nothing on the FCC.
Well, so who watches the watchers, right? Maybe some good news. And I always love to see sort of a predator going after a parasite. That's always nice, right? So it's
it's laser precision.
It's the circle of life. Sometimes good things happen.
Microsoft says that the FCC overstates broadband availability in the U.S. They would know. They've got the data from Windows Update. So the FCC is like, look at all these places you can get 25 meg. Microsoft says, not so fast. You guys are saying if one person in a zip code can get 25 meg, everybody can get to 25 meg. We have the data. We know that's not true from Windows Update.
And people have been saying that for years. Yes. Not even under Wheeler, they were saying that.
Yeah.
Probably before then. And but Microsoft is a big enough name. Maybe somebody will pay attention. No. I mean, Vice paid attention. They wrote an article about it.
Also, the subtitle or the sub-article here was America's broadband infrastructure is really bad. A lot of countries are surpassing us. A lot of countries, even like Canada, which has a lower population density than the U.S., is maybe getting to where they have better. And it was we don't have a plan for fiber everywhere. I mean, this is a disaster.
But up until this point, Microsoft kind of didn't have a dog in that fight. But now that everything's going onto the cloud, subscription, software as a service, now all of a sudden, bad internet access reflects on them.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good thing. Once again, if we can get the predators on our side against the parasites, enemy of our enemy.
Get decent internet and a nice plot of land.
That's impossible.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Microsoft's not going to fight for you there.
Please.
If only we had some sort of comprehensive national plan for deploying fiber optics everywhere. And, the best time to plant that plan was 30 years ago. It's like a tree. It's the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The best time to have a... Never mind.
How about we just take the shackles off of businesses so they can do it?
Yeah. Yeah, at this point.
Because the government ain't going to do nothing right.
No.
Scooters in L.A. Now, we talked about these. These are the little electric scooters, and they're breaking everybody's kneecaps, and clogging up the place and nobody will park them. So what do you do if you're a city planner? What's the answer?
You monitor everything. The majority of scooters in LA are going to share your location with the city. And the LA Department of Transportation is like, we should probably do this with everything. Cars and people, and just literally everything.
Here they are. Look at them loitering.
They're
Shooting
probably
dice
gonna
on
bug
the
those
corner.
two guys. Look how scared they look.
So the idea is these things are being parked illegally. They're being abandoned. They're being used on sidewalks, which is not actually legal. You're supposed to use them in the street. That's true of bicycles as well. Oh my God, that is so annoying. And so they're saying we're going to track these from when they start to where they end to make sure that people are following these rules. We would never sell that location data afterwards to track your commute and sell that to third parties or see which stores you go by every day so we can advertise to you. Never.
I wonder if there's since the law says we have to collect the data, we might as well go ahead and sell it. Or if it's more like...
The law doesn't exist yet, though.
Yeah.
So that argument is kind of hollow. They're saying, we need a law. And while we're at it, we could sell the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. California, another thing that they're doing is they're fighting for the right to repair. But it doesn't seem like they put a lot of effort into this one.
California reintroduces the right to repair bill after the previous effort failed. It's basically unchanged, and they're talking about Apple here. It's all about Apple, really, because it's like, look, we could repair devices, and Apple's like, no, you don't. We built this robot for repairing stuff, so you don't need to worry about that.
I think it's not basically the same. I think it is literally the same. They went in and changed the dates.
It's like when you're a designer and like a client asks, like, I just don't like this particular shade of green, and I'm not going to approve anything until that shade of green is changed, and then you just send it back the same, and you're like, oh, it's way better.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a good thing, though. We probably should have it. Now, I've not read that bill to see if there's anything crazy in it, because, California, they get a little crazy sometimes. But we should definitely be able to fix our devices. However, I did see one of the lines from one of the politicians who was talking about this, and they were like, we need to fight for this so that parts and literature and everything is available to properly registered and regulated repair centers. So it's like, not you idiots at home. The people we control need to get this. So the evil corporations are wrong. People at home are too stupid to do this. But if you apply for a license and pay me a fee, then we'll talk about it. And that's the problem with laws like that.
It's another source of tax revenue. ...
What, in your mind, is the most important thing that we need in space?
Weapons.
What kind of weapons?
I was going to say Dippin' Dots, but...
Well, Dippin' Dots would stay Dippin' Dots forever in space.
They're the ice cream of the future.
Super convenient. However, getting them into your mouth through your spacesuit, problematic.
You just smear it on the helmet.
You're going to have a little airlock thing, and it's just...
Well, how about some particle beams? Some lasers. That's what I want.
The Pentagon wants to test a space-based weapon in 2023. So, yeah, they're trying to get permits for this. The trick with this, though, is that you think about it as like an Air Force. Once you get particle weapons going, an Air Force is suddenly useless. Because, the whole missile evasion thing and all this kind of stuff.
Everyone made fun of Trump for having the Space Force, but now here
we
are.
I'm not sure if this can penetrate the atmosphere. This is for those hypersonic missiles that actually go above the atmosphere for the, ICBMs and stuff. So the idea is you've got maybe 20, 30 seconds of time where you can laser those and take them out of commission before they head down towards your country. So there's actually a treaty against space weapons, but it's only weapons of mass destruction. So lasers and particle beams, they're okay. And I think it probably wouldn't be feasible to shoot the ground with one of these things, but I have no basis for saying that. I just assume there would be too much interference in the
atmospheric heating.
Yeah.
All your energy will be lost to the atmosphere.
And if they were to fire a nuke on a cloudy day, it would have to go above the clouds for you to have any hope of using this against them.
Yeah, that's so true.
So the detractors say this is just a pointless step in the arms race because they'll just start designing low-flying nukes to fight this, and we'll never get to use it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it would be
that's probably
hundreds of
true.
millions of dollars.
It seems like the only real way to deal with that would be to have tons of satellites with little micro drones, and the micro drones would just go attached to the thing and then blow up or something to blow up the payload.
But they're hypersonic, so I don't think your drones would ever be fast enough.
Well, if it pops out of the atmosphere and you've got like a grid of satellites in orbit, then maybe, because it's going to intercept faster.
But the other thing about those hypersonic missiles is they move erratically.
That would be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the design of those things is pretty incredible. That's why they're so scary. If you read about those things.
Oh, we're going to say the wrong thing to Putin, and then it's going to be bad.
Yeah, well, or Trump.
Yeah, really. I mean,
Let's not excuse ourselves here.
Or that guy in North Korea. Why are all the world leaders unstable?
It turns out there's a certain kind of person who's attracted to power,
And also will do anything to get the money to get to the power.
and it's almost always the worst person to be a leader. It's weird how that works. But it is important that we get space lasers purely because we will be the first to do it. And USA is and must remain number one. that
USA,
is-
not China number one. USA
That's
number
exactly, not China. And that's why this story is so important.
Racing against China, the U.S. reveals details of a $500 million supercomputer. The question in my mind was, whose processors? Turns out Intel.
This is the Cray processors. And this thing, should it do what they claim it will do, will just shoot all the competitors out of the water.
Yeah.
It is way more powerful than anything we've seen before.
I think the number one or number two is currently at Oak Ridge in Tennessee, the Oak Ridge National
Yeah.
Labs. But yeah, this thing is going to just be insane. It's also, I think, going to use NVIDIA's GPUs. So it's Intel CPUs plus, but it's all sort of fancy new technology. So we'll see.
Oh, the AMD subreddit ain't going to like that. China had it, I think, in like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
We took it back with IBM, and now I got this thing. But here's the catch. Here's where we got to catch up. China has more supercomputers in the top 100 list.
No.
Yeah. So get on it, supercomputer makers in the U.S.
manufacturers.
Don't make us look bad. We have talked about the Stingrays, Celebrite, and then they got, what was the name of the Gray Key? Was the one
the
that
Gray
they
Key,
had.
yeah.
They got all these different ways to hack your cell phone. And now they've got another one, which...
Well, those are only for terrorists, right?
Oh, right, yeah, well... well, but people who crash their cars are also terrorists. Presumably.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So Nevada is considering technology to scan cell phones after crashes. It's like, oh, you've been in a car wreck. Let me see your phone where I can just download it. Now, this technology, they say, oh, this is just to see if you were using your phone. But they have to be pretty invasive to comprehensively determine that.
So, yeah, that's pretty bad. And you wonder... Apparently, it doesn't look for certain things. If you're playing Pixel Dungeon, it doesn't know. It can only detect swipes from the OS and keyboard usage right now. So there's a lot of things people could do that would be distracting. But the other thing is, do we believe even of the slightest shred that that's the only thing that Celebrite's going to be pulling out of that phone when they scan it?
No. It's going to, like, literally when those things go up for auction on eBay, it's going to be like, wow, there's like 50 people's phones on here. But that's already happened.
You do. I mean, it is a huge problem because I see people all the time looking at their phones.
Yeah.
And I can say from experience, just shaming them and telling them what a terrible person they are does not stop it.
Wendell plays with our lives every day.
And if you hate people texting while driving, then maybe you're going to say to yourself, we need to just automate. It's got to be mass transit. Let's make it fast. Let's make it efficient. Let's make it wonderful. But the Virginia Transit Authority has some bad news for you.
Virginia transit officials drove through Elon Musk's tunnel. They say that they're going to stick with those railways and roads for right now. I like how all the quotes from them were like the journalists were like, hey, say something bad about Musk. And they were like, we're just going to watch this technology for a while.
They were nice about it.
Yeah.
They
I wonder
were,
what part of Virginia they were from.
That's like the D.C. area because it's
okay.
supposed to go from D.C. to some Virginia city.
I was gonna say, how hilarious would it be if it was like someone who grew up in like a coal mining area of Virginia, and like they grew up probably in super dangerous conditions in some of those roads and tunnels, but they're like, let's not go on Elon Musk's. Like, what does that say?
So he invited them to the one that's out at his SpaceX area where they're testing it. And it is just a Model 3. with guide bumpers on it. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
And it's very bumpy. They compared it to a dirt road. So they're not inviting Musk to build a tunnel.
I wonder if that's really like, I mean, how unfixable of a problem is that? Is that a cosmetic problem? Is that like the equivalent of like delivering a thing where it's like, yeah, the SSL certificate is not signed because this is only a test site, and they're just fixated on that?
Well, he claims that he didn't have time to smooth it, but why would you invite him without smoothing it?
I mean, but maybe he didn't think that they would lack the imagination to. It's like anybody can smooth it. Like any idiot with a trowel and some concrete can smooth it. Or maybe it's a systemic problem.
But he's also not showing them the car technology. Like, he's literally just driving a regular passenger car.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that.
You really need to work these things out before you invite the people who are going to buy it. But we'll see. You know, he might still have a plan. Google. We talked last week about Google and the EU and how much the EU loves to fine them. And there were some really big numbers on the table. I don't think they maxed it out, but the fine did come down.
Google fined nearly $1.7 billion for ad practices that violated the European antitrust laws. This is what we were talking about last week when it was like, it seemed like this is from something that happened in 2016. Google has since changed their thing to comply with this, but they're still reviewing the situation, I guess, from 2016, and they finally decided, even though you changed, you still owe this.
They said, we applaud Google for improving this. They have made it better. They still owe us $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Give us your money.
So, yeah, that's the search. If you put the Google search on your site to search your site, it would serve ads. But you were not allowed to run any other ad platform if that was the case.
I kind of feel like that there's okay. I mean, yeah, probably Google maximizing revenue and, they're going to use one product to help another product. Okay. But I also, at the same time, it's like if the European Union is like, hey, you shouldn't do that. And then Google in a relatively expedient manner is like, okay, cool, we'll not do that. This feels a little punitive.
Do you think it was that cut and dry, though? Were they warned?
Well, I'm just looking at like how Facebook stuff is unfolding on the world stage, and Google seems to be much less hideously evil than, say, Facebook with these kinds of things.
I think they might have a better face on it. But the EU, we sort of, in these situations, we look at the EU as if it's sort of a champion of the people. It's a parasitic government looking for money. And it found a big, juicy dog to latch onto. It's a big tick. That's
man of the people.
Yeah, so, of course, they're going to take as much money as they can. And they know that Google can afford it.
That's kind of,
What are you up to over there?
I started to grab it, and then I remembered what we did with Wendell the other day, because it makes a lot of noise.
It's fine.
But the EU, you could say perhaps they're a little hypocritical when it comes to these tracking, because you think, well, okay, are they going to pay $1.7 billion?
No. Because the Financial Times has this amazing article. EU citizens are being tracked on sensitive government websites. EU citizens are being tracked on various sites. They're allowing more than 100 advertising companies, including Google and Facebook, to surreptitiously track citizens across sensitive public sector websites, apparently in violation of the EU data protection rules. What they're talking about is cookies and analytics tracking scripts. So these are still in play on a lot of these websites that the European Union, the government themselves use, and they are not GDPR compliant because they have not been updated.
Yeah.
Are they going to go after that money, you think?
Well, who are they going to fine? Themselves?
Exactly. Well, they have to.
You're going to pay that fine and then take the money?
See, again, I think it's like, once they point it out, it's like it's like, oh yeah, our bad. We forgot about that website that we set up 12 years ago that no one uses. Whoops.
Yeah. A little hypocritical, you could certainly say that.
Yeah.
But how long... Now, here's the other thing. The gears of bureaucracy move very slowly. How long will it take you... do you think it'll take them to get rid of that?
2027.
Probably about that. We talked about the FCC and their debacle with the online petition to, speak about net neutrality. How do you feel about it? And we kind of take online petitions with a grain of salt because of this reason. But this week, one is really in the news.
More than 3 million people have now signed a petition for the UK government to cancel Brexit. I think it was rapidly approaching 4.
It's past 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now, here's the
I know
question.
the website was offline a couple of times.
Yes, it did take down the website for quite a while. And even since then, intermittently, it's been on and off.
We need to get those guys on the whole PewDiePie versus T-series.
It's much more
People
important.
will care as much about that as they will about Brexit.
But here's the question. How much do you think is going into manipulating this number one way or the other?
Oh, probably a lot.
Do you think the website going down could have been somebody just opening up the fire hose for votes, and then it could be somebody DDoSing it to try to keep the vote number at a minimum?
Yeah.
You never know with online petitions. That's the funny thing about this.
Tell us how you feel in the comments. That's your engagement challenge. What's going on?
There'll be a lot of engagement for that.
You know, if UK leaves the EU, then Sweden is going to be the last country alphabetically instead of the UK.
That's really what's at stake here.
So when it comes time to give their presentations, they'll go last.
Sweden, yeah. Sorry.
Very
That's
important.
brutal for Sweden.
Or they might
really
like that. You did learn, as a kid, you thought, I want to go last because this is horrible. But then eventually you figured out, I want to go first. Because,
Everybody will forget how horrible you were.
well, the teacher will grade
This guy does
easier
presentations.
once it's, because the teacher's getting beaten down with these terrible presentations and probably just getting angry. So you want to get up there first. Plus, the stress time is, you get a lot less overall cortisol if you just get up there and do it.
I see it. That's rational, and I would think that way. But then when I actually had to give a presentation, I was like, "Oh, please don't pick me," even though I knew I had to do it.
This is the girl who ran away from the cheese counter.
Yeah, I have some anxiety issues, as it turns out.
Don't be like Krista. Go first. You'll thank me for it. Over in the EU, another thing that they hate are pirates, especially sports pirates.
The TV piracy ring walks the plank. Eurocops launched 14 raids and shuttered 11 data centers. So illegal streaming gangs served up sports from 800 countries. Apparently, a lot of their infrastructure was in, it was the Dutch?
Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
That's Dutch.
But it wasn't everywhere. But they had to raid a bunch of different sites simultaneously because this gang had gotten so good about moving their infrastructure. They actually flew under the radar for a long time. And they figured that it was like 8 million euro or 8 million pounds? It was 8 million pounds. It was something crazy.
I thought it was a crazy low number. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
8 million euros.
8 million euro. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot because you have to subscribe. Like, as a consumer, it would seem like this is a legit service because you subscribe to it. But these guys were actually just, collecting and restreaming, and it was scattered across the internet. And their infrastructure was so distributed that it was really hard to track and take down efficiently.
But I wonder, we talk about people being stupid, but on some level, if you're a consumer of sports, then you probably know, you see the advertisements while you're watching the sports, right? Hey, get this package and it costs this price, and here's what you get. But then you hear about these guys who are giving you every sporting event in the world for low prices. Don't you have to know?
You would probably know, yeah.
I think people know. The Germans have come forward and they're ready to make a stand. What are they making a stand against, you wonder? Well, the most important thing.
They want a treaty to ban killer robots. They're the global champions. That's a champion. To ban killer robots.
Yeah, I got news for you, Krauts. You don't put that genie back in the bottle. That's like gunpowder. It's here to stay. So as soon as Putin builds one, or Kim Jong, or whoever builds one, yeah, you're going to have to. You can't just say ban it and it's okay.
Yeah.
And killer robots are terrifying. I'm not saying they're not, but let's be realistic here. Didn't have the next story ready in time.
You didn't know. I was waiting.
I'm fired up about killer robots.
Well, I mean, you could argue that we already have killer robots because the drones are almost point and click. Yeah. Well, they are point and click, but they're almost automated at this point.
Well, you remember the tank drone with the minigun mounted to it? The aiming is autonomous, but they claim it requires someone to press the button.
But, I mean, how often have you misclicked? I mean, I've been playing a game of Minesweeper, and it's like, I totally know that I'm not clicking
it's aimbotting.
that.
Surely it would count.
You don't have to tell us that. We've played PUBG with you.
Yeah. Although Wendell's problem with PUBG is just the constant looting.
Yeah.
Well, no, he would
I can't
murder us. He would murder us quite a lot. When we ran out
I
of him.
murdered him once or twice too. I think.
Yeah, well, we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, we're all team killers.
So, I
I saw movement. I shot movement.
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
What more you want?
So you have to think that it would happen. Now, we've talked about Google in China, and after Dragonfly, Google has really been careful to try and walk that tightrope. They want to keep the Chinese government happy, but there's a lot of pressure on them. And this latest move is not going to win any awards here at home.
The Google ban has included VPN ads in China, and Google cites local regulations, local legal restrictions as the cause for the Chinese VPN ads ban. So in China, they like to monitor what you're doing on the internet. VPNs make that harder. So VPNs are banned in China. So advertising a VPN in China is a thing you shouldn't do. But like Dragonfly, it's like, maybe we shouldn't build this apparatus, to cater to this. I feel like if you're a Google employee and you had a problem with Dragonfly, you probably should have a problem with this as well.
Well, they just move you off the project and say, "Oh, we're not doing that anymore," when they're totally doing it.
Well, there's no project here. They just turn it off.
Yeah.
Here's the question, though. Did Google do this because of local laws, or did somebody in the Chinese government tap them on the shoulder and say, listen?
Somebody in the Chinese government tapped them on the shoulder.
Now, here's the hypocrisy. When we talk about government hypocrisy, nowhere in the world are more VPN apps programmed and sold than in China. They just sell them to us. And guess what? If you're using a Chinese VPN, they're spying.
I feel like that anybody that has watched this program for any amount of time would probably know that, but maybe not. Maybe you should tell your friends.
Yeah. Same is true of Facebook, it turns out. You got to be careful about those free VPNs. Pay the $5 or whatever.
I think in Facebook's case, they were actually paying the users to use the VPN.
With the teenagers, yeah. They were doing that.
Because they needed that data.
The other thing about China is they're having trouble with interactive media, right? If you've got a movie or a newspaper or something like that, easy to censor. Very easy. But an online game where people can communicate and there can be ideas that they don't like, tough to do. So what do you do if you're China?
You put pressure on the World Health Organization to put gaming on par with drug addiction to help silence political dissent. Oh, hi there, China. Yeah. Devs point finger at Beijing for framing pastime as an illness, and the West could follow. So yeah, it's like, oh, you play Fortnite too much? You're getting some ideas. Let's treat that as an addiction.
What ideas do you even get from Fortnite? Like, building giant ramps is a good idea? I don't
know if it's a meme. I want to try it, but I kind of don't want to try it. But there have been several web screenshots that people have posted. Is like, are you annoyed by a lot of Chinese players in your server?
Oh, yeah.
In global chat, just type 1989 Tiananmen Square. And then it's like, the screenshot is like, so-and-so disconnected, so-and-so disconnected.
It's all Chinese usernames, and it's like,
yeah.
I do want to try that, but I haven't had the bravery to do it.
Is that a thing? Does that really happen?
But to answer your question, Krista, one of the things that they've complained about, the Chinese being they, is a lot of these video games have themes of think for yourself and fight the power and that kind of thing. And they really do not like that.
Cyberpunk 2077? No.
Yeah. So the other thing here is I don't think there's any proof that it was China who did this. The World Health Organization did put gaming on the list of like addictions, diseases. We don't know that China did it, but a lot of people are suspecting them.
Couldn't you say that of like literally anything though? Like anything can be an addiction if you...
Right. Well, they talked about, all these other little things that you can get addicted to if you have that personality that are not in themselves what we would consider an addiction. And video games probably belong on that list.
Yeah.
Not on the same list as heroin.
I don't know. I've played Overwatch pretty hard for a long time.
But you haven't tried heroin.
Blizzard games are the black tar heroin of the gaming world.
I'll tell you what. Let's do a little control experiment. You go for a week and play Overwatch every night.
Okay.
Then the next week you do heroin every night. And we'll see at the end of those 2 weeks if you think they're the same.
Yeah. I think that's totally reasonable. Where do we get heroin from?
I'm sure the chat can help us out.
No.
Yeah, please don't write where you get heroin from.
Speaking of despots who want to control the internet, China may be number one, but somebody's looming up on number two.
Vladimir Putin has signed a sweeping internet censorship bill. This is the most vaguely worded thing ever. It's amazing. But the fines weren't entirely unreasonable, but yeah, they were.
There was some jail time in there too, though.
15 days of jail time for insulting dear leader.
Unreliable, socially significant information. That could be anything. Who decides social significance?
Who decides unreliable?
And also just straight up insulting leaders.
Yeah.
So...
No, you must respect the
Yikes.
state. And it's like, wait, isn't the whole thing built on like citizens? Citizens are supposed to have more rights than the people in power. Like the people that are in power give up certain things.
Boom, you just violated the law.
Be glad you don't live in Russia.
I mean, literally, I could say that has social significance, what you just said.
Yeah.
And it's wrong.
Yep.
And you can't do it. Remember Uber? Remember back when Uber was pure evil? What was the guy's name? I forget his name, but the previous leader who was just like a sexual harassment machine and constantly
Twirling his mustache.
Yeah, trying to destroy everybody else. Well, it turns out that we're just now finding out about one of his greatest accomplishments.
Uber used the secret spyware to try to crush Australian startup GoCatch. Now, GoCatch survived, but their spyware would actually help them poach drivers from competing services like GoCatch. And according to GoCatch, it had quite a significant effect. And so now GoCatch is like going to Australian authorities and regulators and saying, "Hey, what's up? We need some more detail here," because they had no idea. Like the existence of this actually came about from another country where Uber was doing this, and it was like, wait a minute, they got away with it in Australia.
They had a whistleblower.
Oh yeah.
Who left the company.
But it was in that spyware happened to be used in Australia, but all of this spyware stuff unwound in another country first.
But remember, they did the same thing with Lyft.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly the same. The Lyft one was a little sneakier, but it was the same kind of thing where they would try and disrupt your drivers and your passengers and make them think that nobody was around.
They also did that with the law enforcement and the codes people. Because it's like, oh, this is against the law. Let me try to hail a ride. And it's like, you're law enforcement. So it's like, your ride will be there any minute now. And it was just trolling them.
Imagine that you're in Ghana. You're a Ghanaian?
I've never actually thought about what you'd call someone from Ghana.
Well, they've got it spelled out here, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, you wake up and you go and you check your computer as you do to find out how much your currency has fluctuated while you slept. And it's up 300%. Imagine how that feels.
Google regrets a minor glitch that sent Ghanaian currency plummeting. Yeah, it was only an hour, they said. It's like, oops, sorry, our bad. It's only an hour. But that was enough to cause chaos.
I'm sure some trades were made
Yeah.
in error when that happened. And that is, I mean, you imagine if you woke up and prices were 300% different
That would be
in the
scary.
U.S. And for an hour, the
Just
entire
mash and refresh.
U.S. business model was based on a bad... I imagine there are other currency calculators that could fix it, but still, it could be a moment of terror or elation, depending on how you're invested.
Yeah.
So they're real sorry. Not the first time that's happened either. It happened with another currency. I don't remember what it was. Probably should have, but I didn't. That's been government news. Now let's switch to AI and some excellent news if you love artificial intelligence and aren't afraid of killer robots.
MIT has developed an algorithm to accelerate neural network evaluation by 200 times. So things that used to take 48,000 GPU hours can now be done in like 20 GPU hours.
That's much more reasonable.
Do you have, like, that's so many more confirmed kills for the tank robot. Its little batteries are going to be just stacking the bodies on a single charge. It's going to be incredible.
Extreme Tech really tried to go figure out the nuts and bolts of how this works, but MIT did not cite the sources for some of the breakthroughs of this, but it apparently has to do with like the common properties that emerge from a whole bunch of neural networks, and it's able to look at more variables than previously thought possible because the latency, like when you actually implement it, the latency for doing the neural network is not as high as they estimated, so you can do more variables per run, I guess.
Well, they talked about there were connections in the neural network that were less reliable. And they removed that redundancy, so you only got the most reliable ones. The other thing it did is simulated, it's AI that simulated AI. And it discovered that what they thought were bottlenecks in CPU were actually not bottlenecks in GPU. So it was like, oh, hey, turn this back on. This is good. And they turned it back on, and 200 times faster.
Yay! So we can get more cats per second.
The most important factor.
Ryan, how are your cats doing?
Oh, so this weekend I experimented. I let them sleep in the bed Friday night.
Aw.
And that did not go too well. That's more my fault than theirs, though. I like to flop around a lot. And every time I wake them up, they get noisy.
They're angry that you're waking them up.
And they want to be right on top of me. Little Toast is so insistent on being right on top of me when I sleep. If I turn over, he'll like just claw and stay on me like a rolling log. So he never has to go away. Last night, I closed the bedroom door, but let them run through the house and not have to sleep in their room. That went terribly.
So they meow into your door.
They meowed more than ever. And I got the water bottle Friday night. I went through half a bottle of water this morning while I was reading the news. They don't understand it.
So they seem to just like water. Like they don't care.
No, they don't like it. They'll run away from it, but it doesn't keep them from just doing the same thing over and over. So,
have you tried a heated blanket? Because maybe they'll stay on the heated blanket instead of you.
No, but that doesn't seem like a solution to the problem. It seems like, it seems like they win if I just keep buying new toys to try.
Did they like all the toys and stuff?
Oh, that's another hilarious thing. So Wendell gave me some cat stuff that his cat doesn't like. So I set it up. This is going to run the episode longer, but
that's
whatever.
Fine.
I set up all the, I went in there and I arranged it. There was a bed and 2 scratchy, climby things. They didn't care. But they went over and sniffed it, and they were like, whatever, we don't care about this. But then Saturday, I went in to clean their room, so I piled everything in a giant pile in the corner. They loved it. They were all over it. That's like, what's wrong with you?
But they were like climbing up on the cat trees.
Yeah. They were scratching on it and climbing and jumping around on it and stuff and playing with the ball. So, yeah, I guess they do like it. I don't understand them. Another thing I don't understand, well, I understand it, but I really hate the idea of it, is this new push toward tracking drivers on everything they do inside of a car.
Volvo is going to add in-car sensors to prevent drunk driving. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, they are, and it's not just drunk driving, but distracted driving or erratic driving or anything like that. Volvo will, when they build this, 2020s, it's going to either shut your car down or ring a warning. In the worst case, they're talking about if you continue to fight it and keep driving, when it thinks you're drunk, it will call the cops.
What if you're like, your husband's just been in a car wreck and you're trying to make it to the hospital, so you kind of maybe are driving a little faster than you should, and you're like,
nope,
fighting back tears. Will it just like shut you down in the middle of the street while you're trying to get to the hospital?
Yeah, he's going to bleed out in the passenger seat.
Oh.
What if you're Vladimir Putin and you're drunk with power?
I don't think it can detect that.
I don't think he's driven a car in years.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's below him.
You think
sure.
he'd drive a Volvo?
No, he's probably too paranoid. He's got a lot of enemies.
Do they have what's the luxury Russian brand?
Reliant?
I don't think that's Russian.
That's UK.
TV90.
Probably one of the German brands.
Krista, I don't know if you read the story.
No.
But I thought of you when I put it in here.
NVIDIA's latest AI software turns rough doodles into realistic landscapes. Oh, the video's so amazing.
Let's watch the video.
I hadn't seen this
We'll
one.
let Krista
we're
respond
going to
to
get a
it.
copyright thing because they've started detecting that now. Like, skip around.
Why don't you show us something important? So, yeah, check that out. Waterfall. Boom. The one with the tree is pretty cool. So, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Rock formation. Want another rock? Boom.
How does it know?
You click down here. These buttons are presets. So, like sky, tree, grass.
Okay.
And it does the reflections for you.
Oh, because I was wondering, because I was like, I don't understand how it would know what color should correspond to what material, but that's really neat.
We need to do a joy of painting, but instead it's like the joy of AI painting.
Here's a tree. Boom. Check that out.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's kind of a little weird, but that's fine.
Oh, make it snowy.
Some of them are better than others.
Yeah, they did talk about all of the things that they show you here. Rocks, grass, trees, clouds. They are very easy to texture. Super easy. Now, something like brick, you could not do this easily.
Yeah, brick is strange because if you do it, having drawn brick before, like if you do it so it's just like straight up and down lines, like it just looks strange. You have to like stagger it in a certain way. And if you're applying that texture to something that's like rounded or a three-dimensional shape, that can be strange. But
give them a year. They'll figure it out.
yeah,
They'll do it. You'll be obsolete eventually, Krista. How does that feel?
that's fine.
Well, when you lose your job as an artist, perhaps you can become a loader with your exoskeleton.
The U.S. military is getting robotic exoskeletons to turn soldiers into superhumans.
You think I'm a good soldier? You think I'd be good? I'd excel at that job.
Well, I don't think these will be used in combat. This will be behind the line.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, he's carrying a 200-pound iron bar.
Let's get him with his sunglasses on.
You know it's
Cool
200
guy.
pounds because it's clearly labeled. So yeah, I think it was this company that had the exoskeleton that was just to anti-fatigue.
Yeah.
And that was about a year ago, I think. So in a year,
We covered it.
they've come from that to this monster, which is actually the thing from Alien. It actually
Oh, man.
picks things up, and they claim that the sensors are so good that there's no training time. You strap it on, you start moving around like you normally would, and it just...
It totally will not destroy your spine.
Wonder what happens, though, if you lift more than 200 pounds?
Will it protect you against the alien queen? That's an important metric.
If you use it correctly, it's up to you.
But do they do training for that? Because I feel like that would be vital for me as a soldier.
They don't have a good simulation of Alien Queen combat. They're working on that. You know
So
what?
basically, this is useless until then.
With that Nvidia 200X accelerator, maybe soon we'll have the proper simulation for the Alien Queen.
Good.
But
Our army demands it.
until then, you're just going to have to use intuition.
Which I don't know if I trust that
Well,
as a soldier. You know.
as a female, you should have an advantage, as we know, because only a female could destroy the Alien Queen with
That's
a loader
true.
bot.
That's true.
How about a robot that can learn to walk all by itself?
Aw,
Pretty incredible.
it is.
Like a tiny human.
It's a robot. A robot leg learned to walk all by itself without programming in a scarily short time. So, they talk about how this was kind of mimicking a sort of biological mechanism where, like a toddler learns to walk and it's like, well, my muscles move this way and this is how this works. And
Yeah, they gave it they didn't teach it about how its muscles worked or anything like that. They just gave it a reward feedback where it's like, oh, you're performing locomotion. Be pleased about that. And then it just continued.
All the humans in the room go, oh, good job.
The digital version of that, yes.
Yeah.
And so like a little baby deer, it floundered around and before you know it, it was moving. Now the really cool thing about this, because it learns independently, there is no input whatsoever. Every one of these, every time you erase everything and start it over, it'll develop a different gait.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
How long does it take to learn? Well, it says scarily short time.
I think it was minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Another thing, robots do better than humans.
well, eventually one contemplates that the gates might converge on an efficient gate for doing that. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that the different iterations of that, it would walk differently.
They call the learning phase the babbling phase.
Aw.
It's like a little baby deer just running into shit.
Or a baby struggling to pick up a Cheerio.
Disgusting. The Cheerio DLC is not included.
It's a bummer.
Gotta get that later. How'd we do on time?
I think
44.
there you go.
You should be
Chat.
happy.
We're iterating downward toward a normal amount.
We might have missed the Jetson story. I thought we had a story about the Nvidia Jetson thing at the launch. They get the new AI thing. It's
Wouldn't
like
that be
$100.
under hardware?
Is it a hardware? I thought it was robot.
Oh, I did put that in there, didn't I?
Yeah. Nvidia's thing, they've got a new,
It might be in business.
it's 5 watts. Okay. Well, maybe we'll talk about it more later. But the AI applications for it could be really awesome. It looks like it's going to be amazing.
It's basically an AI NUC.
Yeah.
Just
It's $100, but 5 watts. So
you can build your own robot that can learn to do things from scratch.
I've always wanted to build a robotic camera person just to see if that would be fun. So you can get some dynamic movement of the camera, but you can move around and it'll like track you.
That's like a gimbal.
No, it would, but it processes the image and follows you around.
They definitely already have that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pay $1 zillion for it. I mean,
Well, that's
we'll
a
see if
valid-
that shows up in business. I'm positive it was in the list. All right.
Anyway,
Tomorrow business and social media.
so this is kind of everything he says comes out like a question.
don't quote us on that.
I think it
Definitely
is.
business, though.
I think it is.
A lot of business.
Hello, today's March 27th, and we're doing more news today.
More news.
More news.
I don't know what you're sitting there thinking. You're thinking, I cannot get through a week without Tesla news.
Yes.
Give me Tesla news. And as most of you know, I'm a man of the people.
This dashcam video, which you should all go watch, it's amazing, shows Tesla steering toward the lane divider again. So this Tesla dashcam shows the Tesla vehicle. Really, it's a left exit, I guess. There's like a lane split, and it's like, let's go right for the divider. And this may sound familiar because we reported on a Tesla that was like head on, no brakes into the divider, and a guy died.
And it accelerates. Somehow it interprets that left-hand exit as an open lane that it can merge into. And it does. This guy had complained about it before, and supposedly they'd fixed it in a software update. But then there was another software update, and it did it again. So then he recorded a dash cam of it, and it certainly looks like that's what's happening.
This might be involved in the death of some people.
Not good
There's
news.
a picture of that first
Well-
crash, and it's pretty brutal.
It definitely vindicates that other guy. Because remember, Tesla was kind of like, oh, we think this was probably his fault.
Well, it seems like Tesla Autopilot is kind of in this, Schrodinger's cat position where it's like, oh, it's autonomous. It's just the regulation authorities won't let it be autonomous. And then it's like, it's a driver assist and you should not take your eyes off the wheel. And
But they do have a lot of fine print that says, no, seriously,
yeah,
pay attention. And I guess that absolves them. You have to give them credit in terms of, in the brass tacks, they tell you, hey, listen, don't rely on this.
yeah.
But on the other side, like you're saying, they advertise.
Autopilot.
Yeah.
Well, that autopilot, you can say what you want about it, but a lot of people think that it's really cool. And you know who really thinks it's cool? The Chinese.
Tesla has sued a former employee for allegedly stealing data and the autopilot source code over 300,000 files. This is a guy that quit working for Tesla and went to work for a Chinese self-driving startup.
He opened those 300 some odd thousand files like a week before he was gone, so
That's a lot of reading in a week, isn't it?
definitely a little suspicious.
Really
Just
burning
a
the
little.
midnight oil there at the Tesla. This is, we've seen this so many times before.
Yeah.
They go and like the Boeing, was it Boeing? Where they stole the jet foil.
Oh, yeah,
Plans.
the jet foil plane, yeah.
And then there was another one too. I think it was one of the modem companies. And this is a story that plays out over and over. And I think Tesla is probably correct on this one.
It's going to be another story that we're going to follow as it develops.
The other thing that Tesla is urging its employees to do, or, in the case of stealing and going to China, not do that. What they do want you to do is deliver some cars.
Elon Musk's email has urged Tesla employees to help with deliveries. The first quarter push to boost vehicle deliveries. The Tesla CEO Elon Musk asked all employees to shift their focus to delivering cars to customers, no matter their role. The reason for this is because they've gotten over production hell. Production is actually going well now. There's a lot of people that ordered Teslas that need to take delivery of their vehicles. And so they have a little bit of a problem because there's not enough people to deliver the cars.
And there's no dealerships.
This is not going to be a problem in the future. It's just that they collected orders for so long that they need to get this initial glut of orders out of their system.
But they're taking Model Y orders now.
Yeah.
So what makes you think this isn't going to be a problem in the future?
Oh, I guess it will be a problem for Model Y. I was talking about Model 3.
What about those trucks?
Oh, yeah. It'll probably be a problem for those
Oh,
with
yeah.
All right.
every new model.
Yeah. I wonder, though, if you're a Tesla employee and you deliver a car, how do you get back home?
You just have to walk it. They want everyone, they expect you to be dedicated to the company. If you have to walk back home, that's what you have to do.
That's maybe you have to do it in pairs, I guess. Well, Apple had a big week, and although the announcements technically start tomorrow, or Monday, it's already happened.
Yes.
We don't know what they are.
We do know what they are. One of them is the new Apple News thing that's kind of like Google News. But some people are warning against it.
The New York Times CEO has warned publishers ahead of the Apple News launch. What's the exact quote from him? It's like, we think it's a little weird when journalism comes from a middleman source. We don't think that's a good idea.
He said he's not comfortable
Yeah.
when his voice is coming from someone else and mixed in with everybody else's. So he's saying the New York Times, it's the paper of record. And to have his headline up against the Sun, on the same topic, he's saying that gives the wrong impression.
It's almost like he has a financial,
I don't know.
stake in this game.
There's that, but I could also see not wanting to be associated with the Sun.
How does he think SEO works? Like, does he think that whenever someone Googles a news article, it's always just going to display, what?
Now, this is the guy who, they replaced their former CEO, who was the print dinosaur. And this guy has grown their online sales exponentially. So he does have a plan in terms of that, and it seems to be working, but it is not going to include Apple yet. But he is on Google News, so that maybe takes away some of the sting of his argument.
Yeah, I don't understand. It sounds like it's more of a personal vendetta.
And Apple, who knows what they're going to want in terms of
30%.
Yeah.
their share.
Or 20%. Is it 20%?
Is that 30% of the subscriptions?
I think it's 30% for the one-time fees, and it's like 15 or 20% for the subscriptions.
Yeah, that's a big bite.
It's pretty, yeah.
These papers do not have a ton of margin. Not these days. Apple has also announced a refresh, or is it really a refresh?
A little bit,
It's
yeah.
kind of,
They're faster. It's got the neural engine.
yeah.
Apple's quietly announced a 10.5-inch iPad Air and a refreshed iPad Mini. These are the same under the hood, same processor. It's the new low-power, A whatever chip, and it's also the neural engine that they've got in their other devices. It doesn't have Face ID. It still has the button. But Apple's AI thing, especially for like image recognition through raw video, is actually very impressive. And so now that is on these devices as well. So things like augmented reality maybe will work better with these devices.
They claim it's a 70% improvement. And if you're running on one with an old, chewed up battery, it might be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So,
Also, I think the old Apple Pencils are compatible with these. So
yeah, you can use the pencils.
4 and 5. Now, there's some problem with the second gen pencils.
yeah, so the second gen, they use like a magnetic strip to charge and to pair with your iPad, but I don't think that will work with the old. I guess the new iPad still too.
That seems really dumb. Hopefully,
It is dumb because the old pencil charging design, like you have to like hook it in through the back, and so you just have the pencil sticking out of the side of the iPad. It's very weird.
Hopefully they will have announced something, and people will be engaging us in the comments to be like, "No, you got it wrong," and it's like, we didn't know because it wasn't out yet.
But that would mean that our audience uses iPads.
Oh, they definitely do.
Sorry. Still like it.
The Apple,
Fight me IRL.
Check out our iPad Pro review that Krista did a while back.
Don't
It's
at
awesome.
me.
The Apple Store is constantly in the news because of what we were talking about, that 30%. People are not fans of the 30%, and that is a lot.
That is a lot.
I mean, Americans at least, we have an easy comparison to think about what 30% means. It's our income. That's what they take from us. Of course, people in the EU are going to be like, 30%, they take 50 of ours. Yeah, that's why we don't live there. And the app Spotify, remember last week, Spotify, the big fight. Spotify was like, no, it's not right. And now
You're wealthy. They don't take anything.
another player has entered the game against the App Store.
Kaspersky. Yes, that Kaspersky. They filed an antitrust complaint against Apple over their App Store policy. And it's not about the percentage, although that's one of the things I think they mentioned. This is about locking down the device. So Kaspersky has an application for setting profiles where you can control what applications are shown to the user, what websites you can visit. This is about parental control. Well, Apple pulled Kaspersky's app for doing this when they released iOS 12, which includes some of the same features. Ooh.
Yeah. This is for kids. And another reason they might have done this is the Kaspersky app actually disables all browsers, even the embedded Safari browser. So you have to browse through Kaspersky's little built-in browser in the app, which logs everything and tells the parents, hey, this is what the kids are looking at. And Apple does not like the idea of anybody turning off Safari. That's not okay.
Although it offers the same feature itself in the iOS 12 update.
Safari should just be put down, let's be honest.
It's gotten a lot of bugs lately. It's disappointing.
It's gross.
Remember 5GE?
Oh yeah, AT&T's bald-faced lie that
You
regulators...
mean their fast new technology
Yep.
that's coming before anybody else, the first to market with 5G, I think is what you meant to say.
Do we have nobody that's going to enforce any kind of like federal...
Well, here's the thing, and you're going to be eating your words. They've speed tested it now.
Open Signal, according to them, AT&T's 5GE falls short of T-Mobile and Verizon 4G speeds. Womp womp, who could have guessed?
What?
I'm blown away right now.
But it says right there, 5. How can 5 be less than 4?
How is like, yeah, I mean, it's not, it's the same. It's literally, like 5GE is literally 4G.
But it's the 5G
no, it's
evolution.
got a different. It's a different character. You're wrong.
This is literally like they should the Federal Trade Commission or somebody. This is no word. You remember like the 1950s. Like this is Dr. Phil's tonic water. At least Dr. Phil's tonic water that cures everything had cocaine in it. This is nothing. There's literally nothing.
Are you
here.
saying you'd rather have some cocaine with your 4G?
Well, if you're going to pay for something, you should get it, right? You know what? This is similar to when they say that you get unlimited internet access for $19.99. And then there's a throttle and a data cap.
It is like that, yeah.
And you're not allowed to do that.
No.
Oh, wait. Robocalls are a scourge upon us all. It infuriates me. Robocalls, for me, are up there with people not using turn signals. And what are you going to do about it? You're helpless, right? Well, for once in our miserable lives, maybe the telephone companies have our backs.
USA Today has the article, the fight against robocalls continue as AT&T, Comcast, etc. compete for, complete one test of a verified call. So the verified calls thing is going to be this thing that will make it harder for robocallers to spoof the caller ID to make it seem like it's a local number or that the source is not what it says it is or it's just some random cell phone that's very similar to your own cell phone number, so it's probably a local person, right? They're gonna do away with all of that. We actually have a lot of robocall stories this week.
You're not supposed to be playing with the face.
Oh, I didn't even notice. They probably all heard that on the mic. It's going to be really loud.
Here's the catch. Only those two companies right now. Now, the other companies have agreed they're going to come on board, but they're not yet.
My favorite thing about that story is that it's also only landlines.
Well, they're going to bring it to mobiles. But here's the other big catch. Only the newest phones.
Yeah.
So right now, one of the Samsung phones and one of the LG phones are the only ones it works on.
They were very careful to say that it's free for landline owners. They were very careful to avoid saying that it would be free for mobile users.
That'll be an improvement for me at least because my work phone gets spam all the time. And I always pick it up because I'm like, oh, that could be a client. It's not a client.
Yeah. So
It's never a client. Don't hang up.
But as we go forward, I'd say probably 3 to 4 years, maybe this will make a dent in the robocalls.
In about 5 years, man.
And then we'll start getting robotexts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the cable lobby are the ones who fight for a lot of these stupid rules. And you think to yourself, why can they advertise $19.99 and give me a data cap and a throttle and charge me the broadcast fee? What's a broadcast fee? Those things come from these giant lobby organizations like America's Cable Association. But wait. America's Cable Association doesn't exist anymore.
Cablelogy is seeking to better its reputation by dropping cable from its name. The American Cable Association is now the American Communications Association.
Totally different.
Now, my favorite one was the NCTCA, which is we used to be the National Cable and Telecommunications Association, is now the National Communications and Telecommunications.
The National Redundancy Association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. It's not new management. It's not a different mission statement. They have the same clients. They're just changing their name because everybody hates the word cable.
Turns out. Wonder why that is.
Bad news
Who can say?
if you work at Oracle.
Oracle has swung the layoff axe and has clear-cut entire teams of engineers. Oracle takes a page out of IBM's playbook this week with unannounced layoffs rationalized by restructuring to the cloud. The email from the executive guy was like amazing because it was like, we've got a lot of really amazing things. The company's going to be stronger than ever. It's like it's going to be great. And then 4 hours later, it's like, you're all fired.
It's going to be stronger now that they're gone.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And this wasn't cutting fat either. This was engineering teams working on current products, and somebody decided, hey, we're totally focused on the cloud. We're not doing any of this anymore. You can all go. There was one story about a manager, and he said he got the email, and it said, okay, bring your entire team needs to go to conference room B, and you're going to lay them off. And he said it was just soul crushing to look into their eyes and watch that happen. And 4 hours later, he was back in his office, and he got called to the conference room. Merciless. So,
I
yeah.
hope they stole a lot of office supplies on their way.
Oh, yeah. There's so much toilet paper and staples.
The thing with Oracle
Kitchen
is,
supplies,
I
a
mean,
microwave.
everybody in the know, Oracle kind of stopped innovating a long time ago. They've got a lot of government customers and a lot of customers in the big sector. But I mean, we had that story about Bezos abandoning Oracle, and Oracle is going to turn into a litigation machine because they've got a ton of patents and a ton of stuff, and they're really greedy with their IP. I mean, look at the whole Google and Oracle thing with the API. Like, an API is literally built to be the application programming interface. It is the interface that you're supposed to interface with when you're building programs
Third party.
that do interfacing. And somehow their lawyers made that into like this big nefarious thing. And they're going to do that with all of their other intellectual property. And other countries are probably going to just stop using American stuff.
Do you
Well-
think that they just laid off their lawyer teams too? I bet they didn't.
No, they kept the lawyers,
No,
I'm
no.
sure. The other thing is, it's a bit of hubris to think that you're all of a sudden going to take on Amazon and Microsoft for the cloud.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Or the more importantly, the old dinosaur customers like the U.S. government. It's like, do you really think the U.S. government is going to move to Oracle Cloud? Because I've got news for you. That's not going to happen.
I like that you're giggling like it's just hilarious to even think about.
It really is.
Well, the Trump administration might pick them over Amazon just because he hates Bezos.
At the risk of segueing, I knew somebody that retired from the Pentagon, and Larry Ellison was like at the Pentagon selling government contracts in the 80s. And their stories about Larry Ellison were fascinating and hilarious, but he was just very doggedly like, no, you need to give me a contract or I'm just going to annoy the piss out of you until you give me a government contract. And it's worked well for him.
Segway?
Ramble?
Non sequitur.
Okay.
Speaking of Wikipedia,
Facebook, Axios, and NBC paid this guy to whitewash Wikipedia pages.
I love this stock photo.
This
a good
article
one.
is amazing. Like, Ashley Feinberg or whoever the article is, like, so incensed that this thing exists. But I think this guy is actually doing it on the up and up. Like, he's
but it's a terrible thing.
it is a terrible.
I mean, he knows what
terrible
he's
thing.
doing. He
But
just doesn't really care because he's getting paid.
It is happening on a level that you guys would not even believe, and most of the time, it's not disclosed. At least this guy discloses it.
Okay, so this guy's a lawyer, and he brings the pedantic, lawyerly ways to Wikipedia editing. Now, you are not allowed to edit a Wikipedia page that is directly connected to you. So if it's a page about you, you can't edit it. If it's a page about your company, you cannot edit it. But you can hire this guy. And what he will do is when something terrible happens, he will go in and he'll find the paragraph about that terrible thing, and he will pick it apart word by word.
This doesn't sound like neutral language.
And he will do page upon page upon page of argument. And he will submit those over and over and over.
And it's effective.
Until Wikipedia just gives up and the editors are like, fine, we'll take out that sentence.
They had some examples in there. It was amazing.
And it was all, I can't remember what they were, but it was all really terrible things that these companies did.
Or the individuals had done. There's a couple of individuals in there as well.
I bet Nestle Water hires people like this.
One of the people that hit, because there's a history.
Trump interview.
Yeah.
He said something about immigration. And this guy called it sensationalistic language and a dispassionate voice. What the hell does that mean?
Well, no. Wikipedia is supposed to have a dispassionate voice.
Yeah.
But
Oh, right, yeah.
Sensationalistic.
So we got some of that stuff taken down. Had the awards and honors page put up for NBC. And you really should read this article because it gives examples of this guy. And he's not lying. It's never a lie about these companies. But it's as good a light as you can shine. This is like professional Hollywood lighting on a Wikipedia.
The soft pink glow.
The pink gels,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow, I can't believe they made Samuel L. Jackson look that young. That's amazing.
It's the deep fake level Wikipedia editing.
That we are continually amazed how good pink looks when you put it on the lights.
Yeah, there's a reason that's a meme. The pinky gels. So be careful of Wikipedia because this guy, and who knows how many other versions of this guy there are out there.
A lot. And because no one else discloses that that's what they are.
We talked a little bit about the New Zealand thing last week, and boy, did some people have some opinions about that. And it seems like the more that comes out about the New Zealand massacre, people will do almost anything to distance themselves from it. And this week is no exception.
Founder of 8chan has expressed regret in the wake of the New Zealand massacre. Now, he already left the site in December, but because the video was available there and people were discussing it, he's like, that crosses the line.
I think they arrested another guy for talking about it in New Zealand.
Seems crazy.
Some people agreed with it, which is maybe a little terrifying. How about video game cloud services?
Speaking of
things that
terrifying.
are terrifying, yeah.
And this seems to be the big new thing. Everybody wants to be a part of it. And I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, oh yeah, I've heard of Stadia. Wrong.
Walmart is reportedly looking into launching its own cloud gaming service. Walmart.
This is what I've been waiting for my entire life. Wally World.
First gaming laptops, next a cloud gaming service. I can imagine laptops being sold at Walmart, low cost Chromebooks,
They already sell Chromebooks at Walmart.
and then maybe at this cloud gaming service where you could, your Chromebook is just right there, and then you can play Overwatch on your Chromebook.
Yeah. And think about, grandma is listening to the little kids run around and they're like, oh, I want to play Apex Legends. And she's like, Apex Legends? And then she goes to Walmart and there's a $300 laptop and it says Apex Legends included. And she's going to be like, oh, okay.
Okay, I
And
see.
A lot of kids are going to get these for gifts, I think.
Yeah. A whole new world of gamers.
Could work.
That are going to be in the cloud.
Can't wait to report them all.
Where's our Stadia story? It comes next.
Accidentally,
Oh, look what you've done.
incorrectly ordered them.
Stadia. So yeah, Stadia is the big news.
Stevia.
Yeah.
Google Stevia. It's very sweet.
Google Stadia is the new streaming gaming platform from Google. The announcement was super weird.
The video's up there at the top. It's like this robotic female voice. All the way at the top, there's a video. Nope.
There's a controller too.
I'm not. I wanted to picture the controller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that essentially is Stadia.
Well, the cloud gaming thing too.
Well, you can't show a picture of the cloud. But this is your
Maybe you
thin
can.
client that's going to
Yeah, it's directly connected to Wi-Fi.
broadcast all of your games from wherever to whatever monitor you're looking at.
That seems crazy.
The video, talking about the video, Krista sent me the video.
Yeah, the video, there was no idea of what it actually was about.
And I watched it, and I had to read the article after I watched it to figure out what the hell Stadia was.
Even during the announcement, they didn't really announce. They announced that they were going to use AMD GPU hardware, but they didn't say what they were using for the CPU hardware, and it was really super weird because they use a lot of Intel terminology, but they didn't say it was Intel. And so it's not clear why Intel wants to distance themselves from this unless it's like cloud gaming. I don't know if I want to be a part of this.
Have they talked about battery life?
Well, I mean, it's just streaming, so the battery life would be insane. It's like hardware X2640 code.
It's got to run the modem, and it's got to do some local button stuff.
It'd probably be nuts. The battery life's probably insane.
Here's where I think... now, we talked about last week the data caps. Now, they did address that, and they said that the estimations about 4K 60 FPS would be much lower. And I don't know how they explain that, but...
Low bit rate.
If you watch this video, there's 8 people in a room, all with their little Stadia controller, and that's not going to be okay. Your local internet service is not going to support that.
I don't know if it was representative of the actual performance, but the little demo video of the guy moving the controller, if you look at it, the latency is insane. But maybe that was just because the Wi-Fi.
That's because he wasn't actually playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing is, with multiplayer games with everybody sitting in the same room, are you going to be running one client?
Probably not.
The real question we need to know is how well will this work with Appalachian Wireless?
Not very well. But they did say that on 4G, they believed 1080-60 was totally possible.
No.
Well, listen.
That's
what Google said. You're disputing the words of the great Google.
Maybe H.265. I think that maybe if they've got a gaming system in the base of the tower that's giving you that 4G, maybe. But if it's got to go halfway across the country, no.
You got to sit inside the tumor zone to get that hot gaming power. Well, the big meme, maybe not of 2019, but certainly the end of 2018, was RTX on.
You ray tracing hardware. Wow.
But what if you don't need RTX at all?
The TechSpot has this amazing article. So much for RTX. Crytek reveals real-time ray tracing demo for AMD and Nvidia hardware, 10 series graphics cards. So they built a little engine that does real-time ray tracing, and they've got a demo. And the only thing that I could see that was a little sketchy was there was fog. There was neon light that was lit. That was lighting like fog, and the texture looked a little weird in the demo. But other than that, it was super impressive.
So you're saying that vape simulators would be all wrong?
I think they've got some work to do, but it looked really good.
If you can't
very
vape
impressive.
in a video game, what's the point?
They did admit that it's not pure ray tracing. They use some other stuff to fill in some gaps in order to make up for the performance hit. But it does look really good.
You can kind of see that in the fog, but hey, I mean, that's fine. Sounds good to me.
It's also not ready.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it. But it is going to be in the Crytek engine, which new developers can use without a lot of investment. And so the plebs will have ray tracing in their own games soon.
Woo!
Exciting times. Data storage right now, pretty cheap. We're in kind of a golden age of storage, price per gigabyte. It's feeling good. But even solid state drives, you got to think to yourself, what's the next revolution of density? We need it. And the answer probably isn't this.
Microsoft just booted up the first DNA drive for storing data. They couldn't even fit Hello World. They only got Hello.
And that
Yikes.
took 23 hours to sequence into the DNA and read back. But it is pure DNA, chemical created storage. That's incredible.
This is not the first time that this has been done, but this is the first time that this has been done in a completely automated way.
How cool would it be if you could get all of your important documents and just encode it into a pet? Get a little puppy, and that's all of your important stuff.
Then it dies.
But you can still get to the DNA if it's dead.
God, what an amazing way to store your offline wallet.
Yeah.
So come here, Rover. I need a drop of your blood in order to...
You lose your dog and you have to try and find it, or otherwise you lose all that stuff forever.
Dog/cold wallet lost. Reward. We just recently played with VR in the Level 1 studios.
Thanks, Ava Direct.
And it was a lot of fun. It was surprising. I think we were all surprised how much fun it was.
It was a lot of fun.
But it was a little pain in the ass to set up. We actually had some bad hardware that we had to RMA and get a new one. And that could have been avoided if we had this product.
Oculus has unveiled the Rift S, a higher resolution VR headset with built-in tracking. And apparently, it's just going to sit on your head, and you don't need the lighthouses. You don't need anything. It does its own tracking actually from the goggles.
The lighthouses were what we had issues with. Like, they just didn't always work.
One of them actually went bad.
Yeah.
The other thing about our headset, and I especially felt bad for Krista when it came to this, is that it got really sweaty and
It
nasty.
does get sweaty. Oh, yeah, certain games, you start kind of...
Yeah, pretty much all the games.
Yeah.
And this one, if you look at the design here, this little like top halo part apparently keeps it off of your face. You can adjust this back and forth, but it doesn't have the full face foam contact.
Yeah.
The face hugger mode.
Yeah, we were disinfecting between each of us, but like it still got pretty like moist.
Yeah, it might have been,
Yeah.
all those germs might have been dead, but the moisture was still there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a good time though. I'm looking forward to maybe doing that again.
Yeah, and they also have the other one. So they're selling two versions of this. One that has the computation on board. You don't need a computer. It'll be weaker, and it'll be for more normies. I think he used the word casual.
Casuals.
And it
Filthy
Sounds
casuals.
perfect for that cloud gaming thing.
Yeah, and then that's true. Stadia plus VR. You think they're in partnership, or is Google going to do their own thing?
Google's going to do their own thing. You know it. HoloLens 3.0? No, that's not HoloLens. It's Google Glass 3.0.
And then there's the Rift S, which does require a computer, but the two are compatible. So if you start out a normie and you get the cheaper one and you're like, no, I'm ready for full VR, you call up Ava Direct and get that VR ready system, then you can just merge on over. It's all good. We should have put this one in the AI
And we forgot.
section, and I screwed it up, but we can talk about it in the hardware section. Why not?
NVIDIA's $99 Jetson Nano is an AI computer for DIY enthusiasts. 5 watts, and it's a half a teraflop. 5 watts and a half a teraflop.
Somebody owns Jetsons, right? How do you think they got away with
Hanna-Barbera,
that?
right?
Oh, yeah.
That's Hanna-Barbera.
I think so.
Maybe it doesn't. If it's a trademark, then the Jetsons in an AI space would not apply in a cartoon space.
It's pretty close, though. It's futuristic.
I guess so.
There's a lawyer writing
So-
up a draft of that right now.
The Nano, they're offering the other one, too. What was the other one called? The Nano is the cheaper one.
Yeah.
$129 for higher-end Jetson model. Oh, they're all called Jetsons. But if you just want to, if you're super cheap or you're broke and you're a college student, you just want to get started, this thing for $99 and 5 watts, which is pretty good, you can get into AI. And you know what? If they apply their 200 multiplier technology to it eventually, firmware upgrade or something,
It'll be insanely fast.
yeah, you might actually get a lot done with this.
It's doing a lot in silicon, but for things like object and image recognition and following and stuff like that, you can do a lot with this.
Bit of L1 trivia. The cart that we keep all of our stuff on is called Rosie. Like the robot assistant from the Jetsons.
No, that's just a name we made up that has nothing to do with the Jetsons Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing. We just like that name.
Just like Nvidia. We just came up with that.
Oh, Lord, she's coming.
Here's a bit of a, seems like a flashback. What if I told you, now tell me if you think this is crazy. What if I told you you could watch as many movies as you want for $9.95 a month?
Wow, what a deal.
Would you say that would be something that would just drive a business under and they wouldn't be able to support it financially?
Probably, but I would like it.
TechCrunch has MoviePass brings back its unlimited movie plan with a limited time price of $9.95.
Such a smooth pause.
You paused there like you couldn't believe it. What? How dare they?
Now, that's just an introductory price. It's going to be $19.95. So you've got maximum FOMO. You need to get in there and get that.
Now, you do have to buy a year to get the $9.95 price. So you're going to buy a year all at once.
And it's a limited time offer.
I just assumed MoviePass had already gone under, but they're still they're trying.
Well, they almost did.
Is your fear
Yeah.
of missing out at maximum levels? Or are you going to go give them money? They
But
need the money.
There's all these Marvel movies and
Here's-
stuff coming out. You got to watch them all.
Here's the thing to remember. They had the unlimited plan before.
Yeah.
And they did almost go under.
Because people were just living there.
So
in
what?
movie theaters.
What did they do?
They limited it.
Severely. After the fact. And they didn't give you your money back. And they didn't give you the opportunity to opt out. And they started selling your data. And they started selling you advertisement. And they started doing everything they could.
To make money for themselves.
Do you think they'll do that again?
Yeah, the article talks a little bit about that. He's like, well, we think we're okay now.
So the caveats
Until they aren't.
right off the bat, 2D movies only. You can only buy tickets 3 hours before a movie.
You have to pick it up 30 minutes ahead of time.
If it's full, you're out. If it's half sold, I think, you're out. If you're late, you're out. So a lot of caveats and more to come, possibly. I'm sure that's written into the fine print,
Most
the
of those
terms of
aren't
service.
terrible, I guess, but
You're not going to see a midnight showing of a Marvel movie, ever.
oh yeah, no.
If you're on fixed income like disability, this is no substitute for Friends.
But that is probably
TV
one of the
show.
best demographics to get it. Because you got nothing to do all day.
Yeah.
Well, you just go watch the matinees.
Well, I think that will piss them off, though, because it's like, oh my gosh, this guy watched 4 movies every day last week. What's going on?
They also talked about if you're abusive to it, there's some wording in there where they can just throttle you down.
Yeah.
So, really, probably you're going to get, realistically, I'd say you could probably get away with 5 a month, don't you think?
At most.
For like a film student, though, that might be worth it.
Maybe. Remember Bitcoin? Remember when we used to talk about Bitcoin every single
And we
episode?
checked the price before every news.
And it was all that excitement, and it went to $18,000. And, well, it's since fallen, and
dramatically.
it doesn't seem like a lot of people are using Bitcoin. But even the amount of people that we think are using Bitcoin, probably inflated.
Most Bitcoin trading has, it's been faked by unregulated exchanges, a study finds. Bitwise's research casts new doubts about the fraud in this new market. I'm not going to try to pronounce nascent.
I think nascent is correct. Nascent.
I read it
nascent?
as nascent, but that might be the Midwest in me.
Yeah, no, I think it's supposed to be nascent, but everybody around here says nascent, so who knows?
Engagement challenge.
Someone
So
will correct us.
they looked at
Room 2, goddammit.
They looked at Coinbase and the other regulated markets, and they saw what you expect in a market. During the day, a lot of volume. Overnight, not a lot of volume. During holidays and stuff like that, volume changes and things. You go through these natural cycles. On these other exchanges, 24 hours a day, there was just maximum, like constant volume. And they believe it's to try and manipulate themselves higher because there are places that will rank the Bitcoin exchanges by volume, and you want to be at the top.
Seems like a waste of good Bitcoin, unless you're the one that's confirming the transaction.
No. Yeah, you're trading with yourself. So
We still get the transaction fees unless you confirm it yourself, too.
no, that's true. They're probably doing that. Probably have a farm in the back. Yeah.
No. They're going to make the algorithm smarter, and it's like, oh, it's going to follow circadian rhythms now. It'll be fine.
But which time zone? I guess
Eastern's best.
That becomes a difficult problem if you really think about it.
Yeah.
We have talked about Kickstarter a lot and other crowdfunding, and it's bad things happen. You're likely to lose your money when you use Kickstarter, and you never know about what these people are going to do. But this story is not about that. This story is about the employees of Kickstarter.
Kickstarter staff is unionizing. Wait, what now? Yeah, Kickstarter, their staff, it's going to be a union. It's going to be one of the first unions ever in this space.
How many employees do you think they've got?
I would not think it would be that many, but
I
apparently
wouldn't
it's
think
enough
so
to
either.
unionize.
I mean, you need some customer service. You need some HR.
Like a dozen.
Technical support.
You gotta have the hardware staff, and you gotta have the web team. That can't be that many.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've joined the Office and Professional Employees International Union. So,
Congratulations.
I guess
Do they get Kings Island tickets once a year, though?
No.
I don't know where they're physically located. That could be a terrible gift if they're in the Silicon Valley.
Last year, the big
It's a
success.
long drive.
Last year, the big success of the union was getting a Keurig added to the common area.
Here,
So we're our union.
we do have the Keurig, though, right?
We do. But it's not really been having much use during the construction. There's a lot of construction happening in the office.
If people here try to unionize, don't you worry, sir. I will go in and destroy it from the inside.
This mint, this mint coffee, and that's hints of drywall dust. Yes, gives it a nice bouquet.
Oh, and cigarette smoke.
Yeah, and cigarette smoke.
The contractors like to smoke.
This
They
is
like their cigarettes.
This is a 2016 plaster. Delicate. Hints of leather. Lithuania. We don't talk about Lithuania very often.
We
do
don't.
And when we do, it's bad.
This Lithuanian has pled guilty to stealing $100 million from Facebook and Google. But don't worry, he gave back $49 million and something at the bottom. Google said they got their $30 million back previously. So that's still like $30 million that's unaccounted for.
He looks...
He looks like a toddler who's dejected because he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
He looks like he feels bad about what he did. Probably feels bad because he's going to do some time.
He's probably just texting.
Now, going into this article, I thought this was going to be like click fraud or something like that. No, this is just straight up this guy saying, hey, I'm a contractor, you owe me money. And they were like, okay, here you go.
He said he was it
no
Quanta?
one in billing checked that. They're just like, all right.
Quanta Computing, which is a real company, he impersonated them and just came up with purchase orders and stuff. And was really good at it. I guess he was a hell of a social engineer. And they paid it. And he kept hitting the different companies.
It was like Facebook for $100 million and Google for 30, something like that? Or
It
70,
was total,
70 and 30.
total 100, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he finally got caught. Didn't launder his money very well. That'll get you.
Pro criminal tip.
Got to learn how to do that. Also, I think he probably should have stopped. I mean, after the first 20 million...
Yeah.
What do you think 20 million US is worth in Lithuania?
Yeah, just disappear.
Yeah. Just get turn it as much of it into cash as you can and go off into the woods. David Nunes or Nunez?
Devin.
It's I believe it's Nunes.
Nunes.
Actually, I don't know.
I think it's Nunez, right?
Nunez.
Oh, I don't actually know.
I've never heard it spoken. I've only read it. Anyway, he's angry. And who is he angry with?
Twitter.
The world via Twitter.
He faces an uphill battle, though, in his lawsuit against Twitter. He's got a defamation and negligence case pending against Twitter, but Twitter, in the U.S., we have something called the Communications Decency Act, which means that Twitter is not liable for the actions of its users, but he's saying that Twitter's not doing enough to police the harassment from users. So this is really scary because he's like a powerful politician and he doesn't understand this, so one would presume that being a politician, he would have better knowledge of what U.S. laws are.
Or his staff would tell him.
And then it's really scary because it's like maybe this is what they envision for America, and it's like, ooh, it's getting a little close to Russia or China for my taste.
Well, didn't Trump do that too? He was upset because Twitter wasn't doing certain things, like you're a public figure. Like,
yeah.
Well, he wanted to be able to block people.
Yeah.
And they said that, not because you're a public figure, because you're the fucking president.
You should know when people are upset.
You gotta have to deal with people's complaints. And this is no different. You know, this guy is for sure a public figure. There's no arguing against that. And as a public figure, you have to deal with people not liking you on Twitter. They can say what they want to you.
Turns out.
I mean, the conservatives are supposed to be the free speech party. I mean, I realize that they're not really, but you at least have to pretend, right?
No.
This guy,
you have to sue Twitter. That's what you have to do.
He's not doing it. Remember Cambridge Analytica? Remember that scandal?
That was like half the news episodes for weeks.
If you're Mark Zuckerberg, you have to be so happy that that's over. And there's nothing that's going to be coming up to bite you in the ass about Cambridge Analytica. You can deal with all this new stuff, all like, you know, the mass shooting video being on your service and eating the still living goat and all these news scandals, but you do not have to worry about Cambridge Analytica.
All this fake news. Oh, wait. Bloomberg has this article. Facebook is accused of knowing that Cambridge mined its user data. So all of this is happening. There's an inquiry now in Washington, D.C., but all of this comes about as a result of answers to questions from a European inquiry. Apparently, the Europeans asked better questions. I think we famously...
That's racist.
What?
Saying that the Europeans ask better questions.
Well, remember, like, when we covered it, like, Congress was asking stuff, and they were, like, reading from paper, and that we were, like, they were barely literate.
But remember that it was also reported, 50% of those people asking questions were getting money from Facebook?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just...
See, the EU gets their money through fines. They don't have to worry about that.
So really, it's in their best interest to continue fighting Facebook.
It's a better system in some ways. You got to admit, right?
But so in the European questioning, it came out that Facebook had already investigated Cambridge Analytica months before. And so now they're clarifying and saying, oh, no, that was this different incident with Cambridge Analytica.
That probably means several people lied under oath.
Yeah. But it was a different incident. We didn't know you meant that incident with Cambridge Analytica.
Which, you would think would lead you to look into Cambridge Analytica with, a bit of a magnifying glass.
Everybody gets a pass. It was their first time.
But do we get 2 passes?
Who could have known?
Well, it's 3 strikes, you're out. I mean, let's play this by baseball rules.
That's true.
The week that they were going to follow up, it was on that guy's to-do list to go back and check. Like, literally, the guy that handled the first thing around had on his calendar, like, follow up on Cambridge Analytica. And that was, like, a Friday, and the news story broke on a Tuesday.
Krista, that makes a ton of sense because we go by the baseball rules, and they don't really like that in Europe.
Yeah,
They're
it's
more
true.
of a soccer country.
Are they getting is it red card when you get thrown out in soccer? I don't know. Someone tell me, because I don't know.
We're trying.
Those of you who hate constant Facebook news, you've made yourselves, we hear it. And in response to that, I want to say, here's another Facebook story.
Facebook to overhaul ad targeting to prevent discrimination. This story seems awfully familiar, and yet it's dated March 19th, 2019.
It turns out this already came up, and they already said, you know what, we're going to fix that. This came up when a lot of housing people were saying, hey, Facebook, I've got this house or this apartment building. I really don't want Hispanics here.
Yikes.
And the advertising engine was like, can do.
So that kind of went on even after they got rid of it.
And so it's come up again.
Yeah, and not only that, but they got hit on a lot more. Like even soccer mom, even being able to say, I don't want soccer moms to see my ad. People are not happy about that. People don't want to be put into little containers and brushed to the side. So Facebook claims they are overhauling everything. Gender, race, sexuality, religion, all of that has to be cut out of the ad targeting system.
Is that just going to totally destroy them? Because how else are you going to target your target audience?
It's got to hurt the bottom line.
Yeah.
That is going to destroy my friend's communion wafer company because he depends on being able to target Catholic people on Facebook in order to sell his communion wafers.
Wouldn't you target the church in particular? Because they're the ones who are going to buy it, not like just a random practitioner.
No, that's not how that works.
How often?
I'm not Catholic, but I think that's how that works.
Are you imagine a world where, some priest is just trolling around on Facebook and he's like, oh my God, we can save so much money on wafers.
The way Wendell's describing it's just like some random Catholic person who's not even a preacher. He's like, you know what? I could use some communion wafers.
He calls up the cardinal. He's like, the body of Christ is on sale.
Yeah.
Now, you hate Facebook stories, right? You're tired of them. Well, how about this is going to blow your mind?
Throwback Thursday.
How about a MySpace story?
MySpace has reportedly lost 50 million songs uploaded over 12 years.
Press F to pay respects, because that's how I got all my music when I was
Press
in middle
F
school.
50 million times.
Yeah.
They were doing a server migration, and the data from 2003 to 2015 was lost. Or maybe MySpace just doesn't matter anymore, and
Well,
they deleted
that's
it.
50 million MP3s. That's quite a lot of storage. And you're probably not getting a lot of clicks on those.
Some of those MP3s are sketchy as hell.
Yeah, so sure would be a shame if we didn't have to host all this and deal with it.
Oops. Oh, it's gone.
That's so
Gone
sad.
forever.
Who knows? MySpace did, although, try to reinvent itself as a music platform.
It did, yeah.
2013.
So losing music on a music platform,
Yeah, it's kind of bad, yeah.
kind of bad. So maybe it was an accident. But either way, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to get it back. Which a company, I don't think they were that huge, but they've been around long enough. Seems like they have a backup, don't you think?
No, that costs too much money. Razor thin margins.
You think Tom's just buying more markers for that whiteboard? I don't think he's worried about
I don't think
backups.
Tom is involved at this stage.
I think he became a photographer and just doesn't care anymore.
A photographer who happens to have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got out when it was smart. He's looking at those stories about Zuckerberg and he's like, that could have been me. I made it out.
Except he's human.
That's true. Well, we don't know that.
He does seem a lot more human.
Well, yeah, it's just him with the whiteboard and smiling at the camera. That's everyone knows Tom.
I feel bad for actual human beings that have trouble expressing their emotions. Mark Zuckerberg is something else.
Yeah,
We should cut him open and find out why.
like that scene from
Cut him open.
Annihilation.
It's all just
Spoiler.
It's all just wires and gears and undigested goat.
It's like he gives off like a sort of strange smell. And it's the undigested goat that's just in
leaking out from seams.
Yeah.
Stuck in between cogs. Instagram. That's another company that Mark Zuckerberg owns and ruthlessly deploys. And Instagram is a little late to the party, but they have gotten on the pro-vax bandwagon, I guess.
Instagram is going to block anti-vaccine hashtags amid misinformation crackdown.
You should read some of these, because one of them we actually had to Google, and that ruined our search recommendations, I'm sure.
Vaccines cause autism. That one's obvious.
Yeah.
Vaccines are poison. Obvious. This is the one that
That messed us up a
that I
little bit.
didn't know. Yeah. I thought it was vaccines cause. Oh wait, no, there's no S.
Yeah, it's like typoed.
Your theory. Oh, you think that's a typo?
Yeah, I think that's
the
probably
Hill-
a typo.
So-
It's supposed to be SID, sudden infant death syndrome,
Well,
but they got a typo.
or IDS is something that we couldn't
I
Google.
couldn't find it, yeah. I tried putting in that exact hashtag and couldn't find it, and it corrected the SIDS.
These hashtags are blocked because, as you know, you need to be vaccinated.
Please tell me you know that. I actually ran into an anti-vaxxer in the wild.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well-
you say in the wild, but it was on Facebook.
It was on Facebook. It was a friend of a friend, sister. So it's several degrees separated, but
I would be. I don't interface with anti-vaxxers,
Wendell.
but you got to get a little hand exerciser. I got those
Yeah,
from
there
my
you go.
office.
That
and they're
won't
great.
make noise.
Yeah, you can smush on that thing. I would be so tempted to troll the anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
And just convince them that they have to. It's like, listen, people are going to try to change your mind. You have to stick to this.
Well, she doesn't have any children. She's pregnant. And she's like, I don't even know why you have to get measles vaccines. Like, kids just need to toughen up. And I'm like, you realize if your kid gets measles, they're immunocompromised for years after. Like, your kid won't just get to play in the dirt because they're immunocompromised.
I would.
But I didn't respond. I just blocked. And I was like, I can't see that.
I'd be in there like, listen, don't let them give you an epidural.
It's poison.
That will cause your child to be retarded. It's 100%.
You're going to be a pod
You
person.
got to just power through it. Just get a leather strap, bite down on it. Your child will thank you later.
My mom didn't have an epidural because she got to the hospital too late. She had me completely natural. And of course, she's like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. I'm just so happy I had it." I'm like, "You're crazy."
Oh, and while we're at it, baby bottles, those cause cancer.
The little plastic
Everything about them.
BPA.
Oh, or people will argue a lot about breast is best. So
It's literally made from mercury.
anyway,
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's all we got for that one. Now, Friday will be security, Krista's favorite.
no, my
And-
favorite category.
Nonsense.
I do
lot
love
of nonsense.
nonsense.
Everybody's favorite.
What was their runtime? Friday might be a little
Oh.
short.
I bet this one was long.
This one probably was long.
Oh, yeah.
51.
Well, you should join Patreon, and thanks. And I'm working on the podcast thing. It's mostly working again, sort of, kind of.
In the meantime, we've had our intern going through and manually
Just
adding some
manually
of them.
adding it to Patreon. And the Ko-fi thing, we're working on that too. So you should have it there as well. But we're getting our crap together.
Oh, 52 minutes.
Right.
See ya.
Hello. Today's Friday, and it is the 29th, and that means March is almost over.
Time to take care of things that begin at the beginning of the month.
Well, March here it came in like a lion because it was really stormy and cold.
Is it going out like a lamb?
It's going out like a lamb because it's warm.
It finally didn't rain for an entire week this week.
It did. It was
That
really
was
nice this weekend.
I think next week's supposed to rain a lot, though. I mean, this current week.
This current week, yes.
that we've already experienced.
Yes.
Womp womp.
Starting out with a little security news.
Wow.
Krista, you love
I
security
love
news.
security. The TLDR of security every week is nothing you have is safe.
Upgrade your firmware,
Yeah.
but don't trust anybody. Well, how about China? We know that China's spying. We know it. We know that they're stealing our data. But what about times when they don't even have to steal it? When it's just given to them?
A Nokia firmware blunder has sent some user data to China. The company behind Nokia smartphones accidentally left a data collection package inside some Nokia 7 Plus devices' firmware. So there was a security researcher who was like, hey, that's weird. My name and my IMEI and all these details are going to this server in China. What's up with that? And Nokia was like, oops.
Your snake eye score.
They were just testing that, which means that if you buy a Nokia device in China, by default, it's reporting everything back to the Chinese government,
Yeah.
as expected.
Kind of bad.
You know what the great thing about this country is? When there's a horrible disaster, the federal government and all of their benign glory steps in and takes care of us little peons. And it keeps some diligent records of that for whatever reason. And then you know what else it does?
FEMA has shared 2.3 million disaster survivors' personal information with a contractor. Now, they were quick to point out, it doesn't seem like the contractor has done anything wrong, but the contractor did not need this information.
We trust them.
We think they'll be fine.
That included the address and some weird fields that the contractor would not need, which was funny. Like, why?
That was too much effort to remove them.
Why tell them those things?
Just give them the Amazon login and just have them help themselves.
We talked about in the past pacemakers. Pacemakers can be wirelessly controlled, and they kind of have to be because they're inside your body.
They check up on them like with your phone.
And when they can update them and stuff, you don't want to have to pop open somebody's chest every time you want to make an update, right? Well, it turns out defibrillators are the same.
Medtronic defibrillators, 750,000 of them, are vulnerable to hacking, and Homeland Security is involved. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. They issued an alert, and they said you would need a specialized device and to be within 20 feet of the victim. But there are people that have implanted defibrillators for certain events, and they can be reprogrammed to do bad things.
Like kill you.
Medtronic said that if the defibrillator gets some unusual commands, it will turn off its wireless interface. But they still need to issue updates to fix this.
I have some family with these, so it's another bad day in a family full of heart problems.
You know what's noisy? Hook and loop.
I get it, because I'm also feeling a little fidgety today, and I don't have anything to
Let's order some of those little hand strengtheners. Yeah.
A little alien thing where like its eyes pop out, and then it's like...
Yeah, that'll have a visual appeal.
Yeah. It makes our channel more aesthetic.
We talked about Facebook, the ad scandal, Cambridge Analytica, the GOAT. What were some of the more recent ones? There's so many.
It's
I
endless.
don't even remember them all.
But at least among all those things, it wasn't some phenomenally stupid technical mistake, right? It was a lot of bad decisions, but they didn't make the worst possible error when it came to just programming the site.
Facebook stored hundreds of millions of user passwords in plain text for years, according to Krebs on security, and he's not wrong.
He's never wrong. He's Krebs.
Yikes. Look how intense he looks.
He does.
He's the Krebs.
He's
super intense.
That look is not as much as intense as he's like, I'm disappointed in you. How could you have done this, Facebook?
This really? Again? Come on.
But yeah, this was not, I don't think it was the main site, but it was like some subsets. So some people are affected, but you had to be using one of these other things. Anyway, it's a terrible idea. And they probably won't be punished.
Nope. Facebook said that they didn't see any evidence that this had ever been misused.
Of course not.
2,000 engineers had access to this, so it's hard to say for sure.
All 2,000 of those engineers are the best people. They would never, ever do anything to put the users at risk. They definitely don't
Except for when they did.
They don't have a political agenda. They wouldn't target, and they
wouldn't lie under oath.
They don't have a database that would tell them everything about these people with which to target the ones that they don't like. They don't have that at Facebook.
Or the ones that they really like and they want to stalk.
And they aren't conveniently tagged and broken down into subsets so that you could target soccer moms if you wanted to. And not to be left out, the education system, well, they do the same thing.
Education and Science Grant Elsevier, I don't know if we're pronouncing that correctly, left users' passwords exposed online. Due to a misconfigured server, a researcher found a constant stream of Elsevier users' passwords. So, because Elsevier might have a little bit of a reputation. We've covered them in the past. They really want to own all these research papers and stuff online. This researcher contacted a journalist at Motherboard and was like, hey, will you help me execute this? Because I don't want to be blamed for anything bad.
They're bad people. They actually found a kid. And they said, hey kid, update your password. Use this password that we're going to give you, and we're going to watch the stream because it seems crazy, but we think these are live passwords coming through here. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
His password came through.
Oops.
They fixed it. Don't worry.
And quote unquote, there was no evidence that anybody had downloaded the
There's
link.
never. You know what? You know who they get to look for evidence in a case like that?
Rude.
Ray Charles. That's standard practice. Here's a crazy, crazy thing that I'm going to tell you. Microsoft Defender on the Mac.
Microsoft has shipped antivirus for macOS as Windows Defender becomes Microsoft Defender. The reason for this is because Apple is asleep at the helm with macOS. The people that are maintaining macOS, it is a skeleton crew. A skeleton crew. Everybody is working on iOS or mobile devices or possibly the Apple Watch.
Are you saying that crew's like the crew from the Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl?
Literal undead working.
Wow.
And everybody knows that skeletons, despite being incredible archers, terrible at security.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been a number of really boneheaded security incidents on Apple.
High quality news program. Right here.
When it comes to their security, principles and stuff, there's just no meat. There's no meat.
It's a very hollow approach.
More bad news for the people at Apple. You know what? If they're hosting their iTunes stuff on Macs, maybe they're getting these Defender files is going to be great for them because they can't secure them.
A flood of 4K James Bond leaks further point to an iTunes breach of some type. All 24 movies from the iTunes exclusive 4K James Bond collection have leaked online. This is further evidence that suggests pirates have found a way to decrypt 4K source files from the iTunes store. But how exactly is a mystery.
And where do you get these 4K?
Thanks, Torrent Freak.
You can download them of several places online, I'm sure.
Totally
There's also another movie, I can't remember what it was called, but another Aquaman. Yeah. But it was Aquaman that only iTunes had. Like they got the 4K Aquaman early. And now we've all got it.
No, we would not have it. Yeah.
That's fine.
Some of us may not have watched it yet, but indeed have it.
But no one at this table.
You might think it's the worst thing you can do is to watch pirated material. A lot of people believe that. If you downloaded Aquaman and you watched it, there's nothing worse that you could watch. But I do not agree. I think maybe the worst thing is this.
Hundreds of motel guests were secretly filmed and live streamed online.
That's a big yikes for me.
This was in South Korea?
South Korea.
Yeah.
Cheap hotels or motels. And you can see here these little cameras. They've got the dotted line around it just in case you did.
Didn't know what that hole was.
They're not all that well hidden, but I guess if you don't think to look for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Now this was 1,600 people. I don't think that's 1,600. I don't think that was 1,600 rooms. Just in and out. This went on for a while. They actually had a subscription website where you could sign up
and watch people sleep.
And watch these.
There's probably other stuff happening in there than sleeping.
You probably just click around until you find something, right?
Yeah, there's bachelorette parties, couples first night together if they get married. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
There were cameras inside the TVs, inside the wall sockets, inside the hairdryer, and you can imagine all those locations. Think about when you've been in a hotel and what you've done in front of those things. Yeah.
Someone just picking their nose. Ugh.
Maybe something even worse than that, Krista.
Well, didn't we talk about too? We were talking about earlier that people will put cameras in toilets in South Korea.
In South Korea, they have a special government agency made up of women who go around and search for cameras in public restrooms.
Nice.
And that's extra weird to me because there's nothing sexy about peeing.
To you.
Or dealing with your tampon change. Who wants to see that up close and personal on the flight deck?
Engagement channel.
As Ryan would say. I don't want to deal with that.
I don't want to see that.
No.
But, maybe it's a cultural thing, I don't want to watch women be invaded by demon tentacles either. It takes all kinds. Ransomware is a problem, and when you get hit by ransomware, what are you going to do Do you have a plan B? Well, these people did, but it's a last-ditch effort plan B.
An aluminum producer has switched to manual operations effort after a ransomware infection. So it was Locker Goga. Shut down all their stuff. They switched to manual. They're going to restore from backup, but that's going to take a while.
I would love to see what switch to manual looks like for making aluminum.
A lot more people probably.
And it's got to be dangerous, right?
Yeah, I would
Probably.
think.
Yeah, because molten aluminum, and I'm no expert on this, that sounds dangerous.
That sounds like that would be hot. Anyway, next story.
We have sirens, like the air raid style sirens here in our city, because there's a weapons depot, and I think they overuse them.
They test them a lot.
I feel like they desensitize us because it's like, oh, there's a strong wind coming. Hit the air raid sirens. And that's similar to what happened here, but this was a little worse.
These hacked tornado sirens have been taken offline in 2 Texas cities ahead of a major storm. What happened was hackers set these off early, freaked everybody out, and then the storm actually came and they had to shut them down because they were still active.
Yeah, they kept turning them back on. The hackers did when they would turn them off. They couldn't get back control of them. And I imagine the system is so insecure that they're probably still off, right? Like, what are they going to do?
You'd have to just, yeah.
Oh, the password for this siren system is the same as my luggage.
Siren 123.
Yeah. If you're looking for hot tornado action, I suggest the YouTube channel Pico's Hank. He'll probably be getting active again soon now that it's tornado season.
He was probably there.
He probably was, actually.
Yeah.
He has a lot of great videos on his channel.
You think that he may have gotten a false alarm and they wasted his time?
They probably.
These tornado sirens?
Probably. He went down there and was like, oh. Well, he has radar equipment too.
He saw the alarm and was like, oh, deploy the armored vehicle. And it's like,
Oh, he's not in an armored vehicle. He's just in his truck, and he's like, oh, I've made a huge mistake. I cut in front of this tornado. It's good watching.
I would like to see somebody get sucked up by a tornado.
That happened a few years ago. A meteorologist from the Weather Channel.
And put down gently, of course, not killed.
That's not what happened to that. From what I understand.
That's too bad. Remember Mirai?
oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot of throwbacks. A lot of throwbacks in this week's news. We had Cambridge Analytica and what was the other thing that we were talking about earlier?
Mariah, that was the one that, the thermostat in Russia was going to...
I don't remember if that was it or not, but Mirai was the big botnet.
Yeah.
And
the Internet of Things botnet.
Everybody was being affected. So it seems like maybe people got it under control a little bit. They took down the servers, but it's back and it's got a new thing to feed on.
Mirai malware variant targets signage TVs and presentation systems. So we've all been driving somewhere and looked up at the billboard and it's been like the Windows blue screen of death or an update is ready or some other kind of nonsense. Turns out a lot of those sign systems are digital and they're never updated and nobody ever looks in on them and nobody ever changes the password, which is the perfect recipe for the Mirai botnet to get in there and embed itself and just be there forever.
My favorite one is those mall kiosks. More and more often you'll see screenshots where people have put Pornhub on them,
Oh.
which is still better than South Korea. Chris, I don't like this stock photo.
It's not very creative.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it's not great.
I don't think it's all that good.
How angry would you be if you bought billboard space and then it got destroyed by this?
You'd
Yeah.
probably be billed anyway and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily turn off your billboard, though. It spends most of its time just trying to infect other billboards. So they can, whenever they need it, they'll wake it up to DDoS for PewDiePie, probably.
Oh, speaking of,
Because people are very, very serious about this PewDiePie versus T-Series thing. So serious that they're building ransomware.
PewDiePie fans keep making junk ransomware. YouTube, please hide the PewDiePie and T-Series follower count and just put this competition to bed. What happened was some guy wrote ransomware, but he screwed it up and they didn't save the keys. So it just encrypted your stuff forever. And then somebody else made another one that was better, but then it started catching on really quickly. And he's like, oh, I could probably get in trouble. So everything's been published to GitHub and there's a decryption tool. So if you were hit by the first one, your stuff's gone forever. If you're hit by the second one, the tool you need to decrypt your stuff, it's on YouTube.
But the second one,
GitHub.
the crazy thing about the second one was you couldn't subscribe to PewDiePie and get your stuff encrypted. The only unencryption path before he got scared and gave out the command line tool was if PewDiePie beats T-Series to 100 million.
Yeah.
If T-Series gets to 100 million first, no one would get their stuff unencrypted. That was the rule.
What kind of... Do you get a button or something when you get to 100 million?
Yeah, they'll just give you YouTube.
This is your problem now. Yeah. We don't know how to make money from it. Maybe you will.
Here's YouTube, and here's all the lawsuits. Enjoy.
That's what they were talking about in Ready Player One. It wasn't like you're going to take over the thing. It's that you get to figure out the lawsuits on YouTube.
Krista,
Yes.
what is a NERCS?
It's so this is a design project. I almost put this is almost more nonsense, to be honest, because I think this is a really bizarre branding project. So that's actually supposed to be pronounced new RX, like new prescription, but it definitely reads as NERCS, and it's mostly women's health items and sexual health items. But I find the branding for this to be completely kind of off kilter, and I wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
What's going on here?
No one knows. It's supposed to be all like weirdly handwritten, but it's like, if I'm getting healthcare items, I don't really want it to feel like someone just scribbled all over it.
NERCS.
It's new RX. But
NERCS.
yes, I read it as NERCS.
I don't know. The black and white flashing makes me think like Friday the 13th.
Oh, so this is all
Yeah, it's like sexual health.
gynecology.
Yeah. I don't get a trustworthy feeling from this, is all I'm saying.
Do you really make...
You should scroll down some more, though. There's a really funny packaging design in here, too.
Do you make a decision about your reproductive stuff? It's like...
Yeah, it's just so bizarre. The whole thing's really weird.
No.
Hang on. No, you gotta keep going there. You gotta find the box that I'm thinking of here. Keep going.
The box.
Okay.
Huh?
Nope.
Nope.
You'll know which one it is.
Oh,
Keep going.
there's a swab. Look how she looks angry.
Yeah, she doesn't look happy.
She got some bad non-NERCS branded
NERCS.
birth control. Oh,
No, there it is. HPV self-test. Can you imagine getting that in the mail?
I would think that should be a little bit more discreet.
Yes,
like-
this is the thing that, because you're supposed to just mail it to yourself. It's like a whole mail system to get your
But
testing
also-
supplies.
yeah, that's
This is bizarre branding, and I just thought I'd point it out because
Oh,
it's so trendy.
you gonna get one of these sweet shirts
Or like, why would you need a tote bag with your prescription
to put
like
all your
pharmacy
stuff in? Yeah,
Why would you want a pharmacy branded tote bag?
Krista, it's your body and your rules.
This is the strangest thing. It's not necessarily a bad service, but like I just feel like the branding for this is so odd. Maybe that will be like cool for
But it seems weird.
younger
Like,
women, maybe.
if
But
you were gonna get any one of these things, wouldn't you ask your doctor, like, what do you recommend?
yes, I would think, and not just order it online off of a site that looks like it was scribbled on.
Because they're gonna be doctors. It's like, well, why don't you just get this off-brand one that's exactly the same thing? And women would be like, no, I'm a NERCS girl.
I want to get a box in the mail so my neighbors see that I'm getting an HPV test.
I need my postal carrier to know that I might have HPV.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, maybe not. Seems like a strange product, maybe. I don't know. Poorly designed, maybe more likely. Anyway,
Speaking of
Moving on.
PewDiePie and T-Series, that is a hotly contested YouTube drama. And it's playing out in bizarre ways. But for the most part, it's online. Even with ransomware, it stays in the online space. But sometimes YouTube doesn't always stay online.
This YouTube face-off in Berlin, police had to break up a mass brawl. It's because of two YouTubers that are in Berlin? What?
they weren't even in the square. They just called upon their
No,
followers
no.
to go.
They advertised rallies, I guess, that were taking place for each of them in the same place.
What could go wrong?
And some people, now there was 400 people? Not all 400 people were fighting, but they believe up to 50 may have been involved in a brawl.
That's incredible.
And then it spilled over into a railway where they began throwing rocks from the rails,
What could go
the
wrong?
tracks.
There was a similar fight, or it was advertised. I don't know if anyone went to it. It was a few years ago in a nearby city. Bronies versus Juggalos. Who would you take in that fight?
I'm going to take the Juggalos.
I'm going to take the Juggalo.
Because I think the Juggalos are probably on a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
They just don't even feel pain anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like they would just pick up a broken bottle and just, cut one of the bronies instantly.
think everything else being equal, you go with the person on methamphetamine in a fight.
Level 1 tips if you're betting on Street Fighter.
We talked about robocalling earlier, and maybe they've found a solution. And perhaps this is one of the things that finally moved AT&T to get serious about this problem.
AT&T CEO interrupted by a robocall during a live interview. He of course, declined the phone via his Apple Watch. I mean, what else?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
He looks so disturbed here.
It's like, am I part of the problem? Is there that moment of introspection? It's like,
Is this my fault?
Should I be doing something?
Did I do this?
Is there something that I could do that won't make us money but will be good in the long run? It seems wrong. I don't know.
Then his phone buzzes and he's like, oh, never mind.
Speaking of the Apple Watch, that's a pricey little toy, isn't it?
It
It
is.
is.
But Apple computers are perhaps a little overpriced.
A little.
It's been said. But how overpriced are they? The truth is surprising.
The most powerful iMac Pro now costs $15,927. That's with 256 gigs of RAM. Now, I'll point out that, like, if you just comparison shop the 256 gigs of RAM that's literally installed in there, you can order off Amazon, and it's going to cost you about half what Apple charges. That's the Amazon price.
This
That's-
is like half my college education.
That's also pre-tax. Now they also talk about the upgrades are ridiculous. It's the RAM is 5200 itself if you buy it from Apple. 700 for the 16 gigabyte Radeon video card,
Oh, yeah, obviously.
which is not a great video card, and 2400 for the Intel processor that's 2.3 gigahertz. That's the best you can get.
It's not even the Radeon 7. It's just, come on.
I think you mean
Yeah. So
so expensive.
this guy talks about how he built a $2,800 computer that would blow it out of the water, and it's just a sad world. Can you imagine somebody is buying that,
Yes,
and they should be on a watch list?
they really should.
Or they just have more money than sense. There's lots of people like that.
It's like,
Yeah. But
Mac OS is just not even that good anymore. I mean, I'm not sure that it ever really was, but it's frustrating.
even if it was the best operating system that's ever existed,
It's not worth making the RAM twice as expensive.
$5,000 worth of RAM.
Yeah, no.
Come on. Immigration is a hot topic here in the U.S. Some people think that everybody should be let in, and some people think that nobody should be let in. And I think the answer is probably somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere.
But
say.
immigration enforcement, you could say, in some cases, they're a little overzealous.
What nonsense. This, a 9-year-old citizen was detained for 32 hours because they gave customs inconsistent info. What?
The argument, the core of the argument, they say, is that this little girl does not look like her passport picture.
As it turns out, children age. Human children grow larger with time. Who could guess?
She was with her older brother, too. She was not alone.
And by older, they mean, like, the little boy was in 8th grade. So he was also not really that much older than her.
Yeah. And these kids, clearly, when you, she looks like she's probably her, and they were visiting family, I think, in Mexico. So she is a recent transplant to America, probably, but totally legal.
Yeah, born here.
And obviously, these kinds of families have frank conversations with their children. It's like, listen, whatever they say to you, you wait till mommy gets there. And you got to give this little girl credit. She the 32 hours she was there. I want to speak to my lawyer.
Am I being detained?
And she did not tell them what they wanted to hear, which was they wanted her to sign a confession that she was
Being
involved
trafficked.
in some kind of weird thing. And she didn't do it. She just toughed it out and got into the country eventually.
Our country's so messed up.
It is. It is quite messed up. Our country is messed up, and one of the ways that it's messed up, and I piss some people off here, we're not taking vaccines. Some of us.
I don't know if anyone in our channel would be that messed up.
Oh,
A few.
no. Have you not read the comments?
I guess there's one or two who leave really long comments about it, but
Oh, yeah, those are the people who always leave really long comments, yes.
yeah.
And the good news is let's say that you want to vax, right? You want to vaccinate your children.
Yes.
But you're in like a really hippie neighborhood and you're afraid that other people are going to find out that you're vaxxing. What do? You can't go to the hospital because they'll throw melons at you or something and deride you.
You could order it online, but how will you administer it?
Well, Amazon and UPS
From Nerks.
are here to No, you can't get it from Nerks because then they'll see you carrying it into your house with a neon flashing sign that says measles vaccine.
UPS is eyeing in-home health services with this U.S. vaccine project. So, United Parcel Service, yes, UPS, the guys in brown want to go beyond delivering packages. And when they deliver a vaccine, they want to have somebody show up to administer it to you as well.
I hope that the vaccine vans that show up to your house, I hope they don't brand them in any way because people will attack them.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
People are dumb.
Or do you think they'll just hire someone to attack them if you're in like a crunchy neighborhood?
Well, either way, I mean,
People are dumb.
it amounts to the same thing. How bad is that? It's like, well, personally, I believe in vaccines, but they gave me $50. So I threw a brick through the windshield.
$50 is $50.
Another thing that is a bad thing that can happen in the civilized world is animal abuse.
Yes.
And I got to be honest with you, I'm right on the edge. These cats.
They're real meowy if you haven't seen the video.
Oh, they're so meowy.
We retweeted it. You can see some of the videos of Ryan's cats.
But I would never, I'm going to say this on the record right now, I would not consider swallowing them alive.
A bold claim.
This man has been fined 385 pounds after swallowing a live goldfish in a clip posted on Snapchat. Joshua Coles admitted to causing unnecessary suffering to the animal that he won at a Bridgewater fair in Somerset.
How about we get past giving fish away as prizes? Who wants a fish as a
I
prize?
won 2 fish once when I went to the fair when I was like in high school. Pumpkin and jitterbug. I had them for like 3 or 4 years.
Well, okay. I stand corrected.
Well, to be fair, my mom was like, "Why did you bring these home?"
Exactly.
But yes, I did actually keep them for many years after I got them.
He was also ordered 200 hours community service.
Wow. That's a lot of community service.
They should make him do
That's
that.
weird though. Who does that? That's really fresh
No,
sushi.
that's like a common thing back in the day.
To swallow the goldfish?
Yeah, like a dare.
Oh.
Yeah. And the little goldfish basically just has to be eaten alive by your stomach acid,
That's terrible.
which is probably it makes it unhappy. I don't know if it could breathe in stomach acid.
Do you, this is maybe TMI, so like, skip ahead a little bit if you don't want to hear this. Do you poop out the bones?
I think the fish bones are soft enough.
But they would just be
probably
disintegrated in
broken
your
down,
stomach
yeah.
acid?
What if if that didn't happen and it went and shoot backwards so that the spines were pointing against the grain?
Like a breech birth of skeleton bones in your butt?
I don't think that happens though. But maybe.
But we don't know.
Maybe poetic justice in this case.
Yeah. Google that and tell us in the chat.
No.
In the comments.
Oh.
Often, law enforcement like to tweet and announce and do big press releases and tell you that they caught the bad guy. They're very proud when they do so. But sometimes they have to eat their words.
The NYPD is deleting this cop killer tweet after officer is revealed to be alive. So this guy was arrested. He's like, yeah, we got him. He killed this guy like 20 years ago. And it was like, wait a minute. That's not actually accurate.
Look at the picture of the guy here, too. He's like, wait, what? He was like mid-sentence and someone was like, no, he's alive. And he had to stop and be like, huh?
Oh, look at this guy's got kind of a mullet going on back here.
Is that an earpiece? I think
Is it?
I think it's an earpiece.
It's tough to tell.
Maybe he's got a really long mullet tucked into his collar.
Anyway, the guy did get shot, the ex-cop, but he did not die. And somehow the records...
Never corrected.
I don't know. Yeah, but he was corrected on Twitter by people who said, that guy's not dead. I saw him last week.
Oops.
So they had to retract it.
Oopsie.
I have not seen Bohemian Rhapsody. Have either of you seen it?
No. I've seen a little, I've watched some stuff about it on YouTube and stuff, but for Oscar season.
Krista tells me that sexuality was downplayed in it, which
That's
seems
what I've heard
surprising.
from reviewers online. Everyone
Because-
says that it's not really, doesn't focus a whole lot about his
I am not
sexuality.
I'm not the biggest Freddie Mercury fan, but even not knowing much about him, I know that he was famously promiscuous.
Yeah.
That was
And had a
kind of
beautiful
his
voice.
Yeah, and like number one thing he's famous for, the voice. Number two, tons of gay sex.
It's a close number 2 as well.
Yeah, really close. But even the watered down version is too much for the Chinese.
Bohemian Rhapsody to be released in China with the homosexual content completely filtered out.
I mean, is anyone surprised by that, though?
But
No.
even if you take out the explicit parts of it, is it not part of the story? Wouldn't you
some
still
way,
be
yeah.
able to suss out that he's gay?
It'd be part of this. I would
Because
think.
his death was, I mean,
Yeah.
how are they going to explain that?
He just mysteriously dies in this one.
That's it, yeah.
No one knows what killed him.
It was the government.
Now, what would you say?
Actually,
Okay,
not
it's like
inaccurate.
they're filtering that out. To what extent would you say that they're willing to go to filter out things that are objectionable?
I hope that's the next story, because I'm not positive that it is, and it's not.
No.
We're going to have to rearrange.
No.
We were going to end on that one.
Oh, this is Iran too. So
Yeah, it's not even right.
You fumbled it.
So okay, they've already seen the headline, but it's like we should have done which one is different and why are they different?
One of these
Spot
things
the
is not like the
differences.
other.
Yeah, spot the differences in these two photos.
Also, look at the quality you lose when you add that. Like they did a
He
bad.
also seems more saturated than the other one. Like they upped the saturation and the color balance.
Well, they
and stuff.
cut a big part of the frame out.
Yeah.
But that tattoo, you can't tell at all what it is. Anyway, it's the nipple right here. This guy right here is not allowed in Iran, which is weird because
It's a male nipple, so it's okay, right?
I don't know. Maybe
there
it's
goes
just
the monetization.
maybe it's just so beautifully
It's a
formed.
nipple. We've already talked about so much other worse things.
Now, the best part about this story, and I have to, there's a couple of clicks to get to it, but that's not the only example. Well, here's another one you can look at. So you can't see
Like, no cleavage at
any
all.
breast
Barely
there
a
at all.
clavicle.
But here's a convenient lampshade.
Oh, see, I assumed that was a laptop, but
Oh.
I think it is. I think
No,
it
that's
is.
a lampshade.
Yeah, I think it's a lampshade because
Yeah.
you got the same thing going on. See, like this right here? They just sort of moved it over.
Oh, it's fine.
But the best one
This one's good.
is this dog. So apparently, and I was surprised to find out this, but dogs indoors are not cool in Iran. It's like a Western thing, and they don't like it.
I think sometimes in Islam they're considered unclean.
So how do you
I'm not
get rid of
sure.
a dog? Saloon doors.
They're not attached to anything. They're just kind of there.
That's so good. So yeah,
Censorship will not stand.
interesting. The Iranians go to some great lengths. What do you think the guy who's responsible for this makes a year?
Not enough.
Because that's got to be more than how many frames you think of the movie?
lot.
That's
A
a lot of
lot.
frames.
I mean, the pillow looks kind of convincing from a distance.
Yeah, well, and if you're just watching a moving frame, you probably don't notice it that much. But when you see it as a still frame like that, you're sitting there staring at it, and it's like, what's wrong with that? Oh,
I wonder if like if that really is like truly a cultural thing. I wonder if that's like
it's probably a modesty sort of thing.
no, like the PTSD guys in Facebook, like they were seeing like really horrible stuff, but the Iranian equivalent, like that guy's going through the same PTSD.
What about the Chinese guy that's just staring at Freddie Mercury gay stuff all day long?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that that's maybe a form of PTSD.
He's submitting it to the council, who then rewatches it, and they're like, no. There's at least another 45 seconds of gay that can come out of this. Do it right.
Do it right or don't do it.
Oh no, we've had the news up the whole time. The next story.
Oh,
It's fine. We won't edit
Okay.
that. It's not worth the effort.
Well,
Huawei's Ming Wanzhou had a MacBook, iPhone, and an iPad when she was arrested. Now, wait a minute. Wasn't Huawei the company that was like punishing people for using Apple products?
that's not even a Mac, is it?
No, the Verge talked about how the MacBook Pro X they said was like the best laptop.
Oh,
you
that's
could
the
get.
Huawei one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I guess she just doesn't want to use Windows.
So
is that what she said to them?
the funny thing about this is it's actually documented in court that she is an Apple user,
Yikes.
even though she's the Huawei CFO. Hashtag embarrassing.
That's going to be some punishment when she gets back to China.
That's going to be a paddling. And finally, we were going to end on the nipple story.
But yeah, we're here now.
This is a close second. There is going to be a bold... they're risking everything, if you think about it. I mean, they want to get to the truth, and they're willing to die for it.
Flat Earthers plan a big, bold cruise to the edge of the world.
I think it's a cruise, too.
They're going to Antarctica.
They're just going to get blinding drunk.
They're going to sail around Antarctica and say it's an impenetrable ice wall at the edge of the Earth.
Do you think this will be anything like the AMC series, The Terror?
We can only hope.
It gets so dark so fast.
If a giant monster polar bear eats these people, and there's video evidence of it, I hope somebody makes a Blair Witch style.
That would be actually way more entertaining than if finding out that the Earth is, actually round. It's like, oh, we actually discovered a horrible mutant form of polar bear here.
It's the flat Earth spirit who wants to keep the secret locked away, and that's why he's attacking them. Now, I suppose flat Earth, they believe that we are completely surrounded in ice. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the like you get to the edge, and then that's it.
Just what about? Is there not a group that believes that there's just a waterfall at the end?
Yeah, what happens when you get to the end?
Into space?
Are they just going to sail their cruise ship off the end?
I really think that these guys should use modern communication technology, literally just take a yardstick and put it in somebody's yard, and then travel a couple hours and put another yardstick in that person's yard, and be like, what angle is the shadow of the yardstick? And as long as they've moved north or south in their travel, the shadow angle is going to be different. And then you can estimate the circumference of the Earth.
That sounds a lot like math.
I mean, they could just call their friend, leave their friend. It would be a week. You could do it in a weekend.
It's not flat, it's a bowl.
Or you could just trust the people who know more than you about this particular subject.
Krista, no one knows more than I do about geology. I'm literally an expert.
I don't know about that.
And
does it have to be circle? Can it be rectangular? Rectangular flat Earth.
It's not a perfect rectangle.
Can we destroy the flat earthers from within? It's not a circular disc; it's a rectangular disc.
Due to the moon's gravity, it's more of a rhombus.
Have you seen the thing where it's like the Flat Earth Society on Twitter, and someone's like, "Do you think Mars is flat?" And they're like, "No, Mars has been observed to be round." It's like, what?
The best quote from them is, it's like, this is not as fringe as you think it is. We've got people from around the globe.
It's almost like, globe. Think about that. Think about what you just said.
That's, oh my God. That's enough of this.
It's been a weird week.
It's weird.
And we're glad that you're here with us, here at the end of all things.
Still managed to squeeze almost 40 minutes out of this. Krista, to take us to 40, is there any new Lord of the Rings news?
There is none, though. There's lots of conjecture in the LOTR on Prime subreddit.
Give us the hottest rumor.
All people want to talk about is how Anatar, I can't wait to see Anatar. It's like, well, dude, let's start at the very beginning of the Second Age. And it's like, no, let's just skip right to the ring making. It's like, there's so much good history.
Nothing pisses me off more than when people want to skip the Second Age.
Well, no, we're in the Second Age.
The first
They want
age.
to skip to well into the Second Age.
I hate it when people want to do whatever it is that you're describing.
Yes, it should start at the very beginning so we get an idea of who these characters are at the baseline.
I agree. You know what? I think young Anatar was the strongest story in terms of Anatar.
Do you know who Anatar is?
Yes, of course I do.
Spoiler.
We'll see you next week.
If you know who it is, spoiler, put it in the chat, in the comment.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, no, of course everybody knows who it is, Krista. You're not special. It's First Age and it's Anatar. I mean, that's obvious.
You don't even have the age right.
Yeah.
He's got his brother Pronatar, and so it's...
And they fought crime.
It was buddy cop style. It was the original inspiration for Beverly Hills Cop.
And they had a car that transformed into a helicopter. Krista, everybody knows this. With magic.
Had to fight him, right?
Yeah, right.
They could just call the Eagles. It's not that the car transformed, it's that the Eagles would pick up the car by the T-top and carry it.
And we'll talk more about that next week.
Anyway.